Chapter 901.
Whoosh.
The sovereign stepped into the sky, and thousands of saber auras surged toward the west. He left behind gusts of wind that blew in all directions. The surrounding cultivators were confused. Yan Chuan frowned slightly. He sighed deeply. Jing was deep in thought, but she did not pay attention to it for long. The surrounding cultivators were still confused, but after the sovereign left, everyone's attention was focused on Jing again. After all, Jing was the main character today. Jing looked up at the sky. Yuan Tiangang. Jing suddenly shouted. When Jing spoke, the void in front of her seemed to tremble. An image suddenly appeared in the trembling void. In the image, a white-robed man stood in front of a giant tablet. Holy Lord, everything is ready. We are just waiting for your order. Yuan Tiangang bowed respectfully. Jing nodded. All sects in the world, heed my order. Jing suddenly shouted coldly. The great manifest merit clouds suddenly trembled violently. At the same time, Jing's voice seemed to radiate in all directions. For a moment, all the sect leaders in the world looked up in horror. Her voice was like thunder from the ninth heaven, deafening. Jing's aura spread across the world along with her voice. Almost all the experts in the world suddenly felt a huge pressure. It was not only the great manifest merit cloud, but also the entire East Divine Continent and the 5 Divine Continents. The Archaean Sacred Ground. Meng Hongying looked up at the sky. This is Jing's aura? Isn't she in the East Divine Continent? Meng Hongying exclaimed. The Archaean Sect. A group of white-haired elders looked up at the sky. Beside them stood the Heavenly Maiden. Jing's voice? So powerful. The Heavenly Maiden muttered to herself. The 10,000 Buddhas' sacred ground. A group of monks stood on a golden platform and looked up at the sky. Jing's aura. How powerful is she? A monk said in a low voice. Jiulu Academy. At the Radiant World's entrance. Meng Lingtian, Dongfang Jingpai, Meng Rongrong, and the others stood at the entrance of the Radiant World and looked up at the sky. That woman is too powerful. Our Radiant World is trembling. Dongfang Jingpai said in a daze. Woman? Everyone. Meng Lingtian also looked strangely at Dongfang Jingpai. Under Jingming's command, all the experts in the world stopped what they were doing. Great Zhao is in charge of the affairs of heaven and earth. Myriad sects heed my command. Contribute half of your merit to the sect. Hurry up and contribute. I will only give you 2 hours. Jingting said in a deep voice.
Hua.
The entire world was in an uproar. With a single order, all the sects in the world that practice Yin virtue must hand over half of their merits. This was not just tyrannical, it was simply making an enemy of the entire world. Meng Hongying listened to Jingting's voice in astonishment. How could this be? However, something strange happened behind Meng Hongying. The Archaean Sacred Ground will offer half of our merit points. We hope that the Sacred Lord will succeed in seizing the heavens. A voice came from behind Meng Hongying. Grandpa's voice. Meng Hongying's expression changed. Hong Long Long. Behind Meng Hongying, a series of rumbles could be heard. In the direction of the God world, boundless yellow merit points soared into the sky and rushed towards the east at a terrifying speed. How is this possible? Meng Hongying exclaimed. Half of the merit points? That's half of the merit points of the Archaean Sacred Ground. Why did Grandpa agree so quickly? Chapter 902. The 10,000 Buddhas' Sacred Ground. The 10,000 Buddhas' Sacred Ground offers half of our merit points. May the Sacred Lord succeed in seizing the heavens. The 10,000 Buddhas' Sacred Ground shouted. Not only the 2 sacred grounds, but all the sects in the world also shouted the same thing. Congealed Jade Palace offers half of our merit points. May the Sacred Lord succeed in seizing the heavens. 10,000 Sacred Sect offers half of our merit points. May the Sacred Lord succeed in seizing the heavens. Blue Lake Island offers half of our merit points. May the Sacred Lord succeed in seizing the heavens. merit points quickly gathered from all over the world. With every stream of merit points, the sect leaders of the various sects could be heard congratulating the sacred ground. With a command, all sects shouted in unison. The sea of merit points grew bigger and bigger, covering the sky and sun. It was endless and still growing. The disciples of the sacred ground were extremely proud. This was the #1 sect in the world. On the other hand, the crowd of experts who had come to watch the ceremony was in awe. Yao Tianshang, Tianzi Moke, and Bai Ditian all held their breaths and sighed. Yan Chuan also took a deep breath. Was this the dominance of the #1 person in the world? As more and more merit accumulated, the sky had already been dyed a golden color by the boundless merit. Boundless merit filled the surroundings. Jingting looked at the sky coldly. It was as if everything was natural. I know why my mother had an empire in the celestial world, but established a sacred ground here. She's expression changed. Whether it is merit points or providence, my mother has a lot of them. After all, there are too few people in this world who cultivate providence, but merit points are endless. That's why my mother gave up on establishing an empire. She analyzed. That should be the case. Yan Chuan nodded. Boundless beneficence gathered. This continued until 2 hours later. Only then did the merit points slow down. Jingting looked at the endless merit points in the sky with dissatisfaction. She said coldly, "Who dares to disobey my orders?" An angry roar resounded through the world. Jingting reached out and slapped the sky. Boom! A golden torrent rushed into the sky. After rushing through the sea of providence clouds, the torrent instantly split into 306 parts and shot in all directions, disappearing in an instant. South of the sacred ground, on a Sex mountain. Sect leader, why do we have to contribute half of our merit points? This is the result of our generations of hard work. Yes, senior brother, the incense-burning sect beside us didn't contribute. Why do we have to be the spendthrift? Why doesn't burning incense sect contribute? We have to. While everyone was complaining about the sect leader, a deafening sound suddenly came from the west. Reporting, Sect Master, burning incense sect has been razed to the ground by an unknown force. Incense thousand sect thousand sacred thousand sect. The crowd of disciples. Sect Master is wise. The group of disciples immediately changed their previous attitude and said with lingering fear, Great Shao Holy Land. Half an incense stick later. Rumble. Heaven, sect. This is? She looked at the sky in surprise. There are 306 sects that didn't agree to Jingming's request and refused to contribute merit points, or they were all destroyed. Yan Chuan said in disbelief. She opened her mouth in shock. Not only Yan Chuan, but all around the Great Bright Mountain, almost all the experts of the outer sects stared blankly at the surging fortune. Everyone was aware of this possibility, but almost everyone didn't want to admit it. If that was really the case, then Jingming's strength was too terrifying. All the sects in the world could beat up whoever they wanted? Was he still human? Too domineering. Chapter 903. Yan Chuan's Arrangements de Zhen Dynasty. Imperial Palace. Lu Gang bowed respectfully to Zizi in the main hall. Miao jumped on Zizi's knees and gnawed on a spiritual stone. Reporting to the Empress, De Zhen's army has been deployed. The heroes of the Tiger Tribe, Huguang, Yifeng, the new 3rd Army Commander Jin Deyu, and the 4th Army Commander Meng Wenrua have made all the necessary preparations. Yan capital is rather empty at the moment. Please listen to me and retreat for now. You can return after this battle. Lu Gang said solemnly. Zizi patted Miao's head and shook her head. There's no need. My husband has made all the arrangements. Even if the rebels in the city rise, I'm confident that I can escape unscathed. You'd better do your job well. De Zhen is showing weakness this time to uncover all the spies that the outer sects have planted in De Zhen. Lord Lu, your East Depot's task is not small. Lu Gang's expression turned solemn. Don't worry, Empress. A few days ago, the East Depot received the prisoners sent by the Emperor, including the Western relic Buddha. I've already pried open the mouths of a large number of prisoners. I believe there won't be any mistakes.
You can go now.
Zizi nodded. Yes. Lu Gang left the main hall. After Lu Gang left, Miao suddenly shouted, Sister Zizi, what did Yan Chuan send you? Why are you so confident? Zizi smiled and took out a seed that had sprouted. Miao, what's this? Miao was puzzled. Vine demon. Let Miao take a look. Zizi smiled at the seed.
Ah.
Countless vines suddenly sprouted from the seed. In an instant, Miao was tied up. Meow, meow, meow. Meow's hair stood on end. She was then tied up pitifully.
Ha!
Zizi laughed. The vines quickly retracted. Once again, it transformed into a seed that had sprouted.
Meow.
Meow looked at the harmless seed in horror. This is a vine demon, and its strength is equivalent to the second level of the upper void stage. Even if it's not invincible, it's more than enough to protect itself. Moreover, with my birth chart, who would dare to harm me? Last time, the upper void realm Kong Xianxue wanted to attack me. Although he was killed by Jing Ting, it can also be seen as me killing him. Zizi smiled. But didn't Lu Gang say that there is an upper void stage overlord in Yanjin who is even more powerful than Kong Xianxue?
Meow.
Meow was worried. That person? As early as half a month ago, I had already noticed a trace of hostility from that person towards me. At that time, I had already started making preparations. Upper emptiness realm? Not necessarily great. At that time, he might not even be able to make a move. ZZ said confidently.
Meow?
Meow asked curiously. Have you forgotten about the Nailhead's 7 Arrows book? ZZ smiled. Meow. Meow also showed a naughty smile. In Yen Marquis' mansion in Yanjin, Yen Qiuyu and a black-robed man were listening to their subordinate's report. After the report, the subordinate quickly left. Huoguang led the army out of Great Jin's border, and Yifeng also led the army out of Great Jin. This time, they brought almost 80% of Great Jin's army. Now, there are only a few guards in the major cities. The black-robed man said in a deep voice, Great Jin is currently empty. Even in Yanjin, more than half of the fierce generals have left the army. Yen Qiuyu nodded. Yan Chuan is too ambitious, huh? The black-robed man sneered. Is it not good to be ambitious? Yen Qiuyu sneered. Chapter 904. Good, of course. Haha. Dezhun is much easier to control, especially Yen capital. Many of the officials are old officials of the former Yen state. They used to be your officials. Yen Qiuyu, when Huoguang and the others start the battle with the outer sects, it will be the time for you to take back everything. The black-robed man said confidently. Yen Qiuyu nodded and said, My cultivation has been raised to the lower void stage by your secret technique, but I'm still worried about Yan Chuan. Worried? What's there to worry about? You're in charge of controlling Dezhun. We'll deal with Yan Chuan and the others. The black-robed man smiled. Yen Qiuyu's eyes flashed with anticipation. Although Yen Qiuyu had abdicated back then, her heart as an emperor had never been erased. You continue to contact your old officials. I'll take my leave first. The black-robed man smiled. Yen Qiuyu nodded. The black-robed man left the main hall and quickly walked to another main hall. A group of black-robed men surrounded the main hall. A white-robed monk was lying on a large bed in the middle. Cough, cough, cough. The white-robed monk coughed. His face was extremely thin. Master, how are you? The black-robed man asked worriedly. The white-robed monk's face was pale, and he coughed up blood. Master, you're an upper void stage expert. How can you be sick just like that? The black-robed man was still puzzled. The white-robed monk said bitterly, I might have been hit by a demonic technique. Demonic technique? My soul is becoming more and more scattered. I must have been hit by a demonic technique. However, I don't know which demon king I have offended. Quickly look around. If there are any greater demons passing by, help me find them. Otherwise, my life will be over. The white-robed monk said bitterly. Yes. Everyone was confused. In a valley, close to 10,000 cultivators sat cross-legged in a large tent in the middle of the valley. Yifeng, the commander of Dezhun's second army, sat cross-legged in the tent. He was meditating with his eyes closed. There was a jade table in front of him. On the jade table, there was a long sword and a small bottle. The long sword emitted a gentle, white light. It was Yen Chuan's god sword. As for the small bottle, it was the zombie origin poison obtained from the Snake Emperor. "Sir!" A shout came from outside the tent.
Come in.
Yifeng called out. Soon, Zhu Jiansheng, the great swordsman, the second swordsman, and Yifeng's trusted subordinates all entered. "Sir, the route has been ascertained. When does it start?" Zhu Jiansheng asked excitedly. Yifeng looked at everyone and said, "It's not the right time yet. Also, have you all mastered the method of controlling zombies that His Majesty passed down? Once it's activated, I have the Emperor's Sword of God, so I can sit back and relax. The zombies you are facing don't have eyes. Sir, don't worry. This is a matter of life and death. No one dares to be lazy." The great swordsman immediately shouted, "Yes. Wait a little longer." Yifeng nodded. In a forest, Huaguang, the commander of Dezhun's first army, stood on the head of a ferocious tiger and looked into the distance. Behind Huaguang, millions of soldiers lined up in a square formation, ready to set off. Huaguang held a long spear in one hand and carried Yen Chuan's Jade Emperor's sword on his back. "Master, when are we going to make a move?" "I can't wait," Tan Lang shouted excitedly. Huaguang looked at Tan Lang and smiled with satisfaction. "It's not the right time yet. Wait, don't ruin His Majesty's plans."
Yes.
Tan Lang nodded. "Let the soldiers hide and rest. The 5th Battalion is responsible for scouting the surroundings." Huaguang ordered. "Yes." Tan Lang immediately replied. Dezhou territory, on top of a city tower. Meng Wenruo waved her white feather fan and looked at the city. Beside her stood a few scribes. "Are there any problems?" Meng Wenruo asked. "Senior brother, don't worry. There are no problems. All the strong disciples of Dezhou have gone to the Dezhou sacred ground. At this moment, all the cities are empty. We have already made many arrangements. Once the Dezhou sacred ground is destroyed, these cities will immediately change their surname to Dezhun." The scribe smiled. Meng Wenruo nodded and said with a trace of pity, "There are too many cities in the Dezhou sacred ground. We can't swallow them all at once. Senior brother, it's not small anymore. As long as Lord Hua connects the 2 middle-tier sects, our Great Zhen will be connected to this place. If we succeed in swallowing them, our Great Zhen's territory will immediately expand to become the largest in the East Divine Continent," the scholar said with certainty. Meng Wenruo took a deep breath and nodded with a smile. "Yes, I was too greedy. Even if there are so many cities, it will take a long time to digest them all." At the foot of a volcano, there was also a large number of soldiers gathered. At the mouth of the volcano, Jin Dayu absorbed an endless amount of earth fire and continued to refine his giant bell that was the gate to heaven.
Dang.
The huge bell rang, and the surging lava in the surroundings came to a sudden stop. Jin Dayu opened his mouth and swallowed the giant bell before flying out of the volcano. "My lord, everything is ready. However, we don't have many people and it will be difficult to control this large territory." A general came forward and said worriedly. Jin Dayu glanced at him and said, "Control? This place is too far from Dezhun. It is impossible to control it. I did not come here to control this area.
Ah.
This is a vassal sect of Dezhou. It is too far away from Dezhun. However, once the Dezhou sacred ground is over, this sect will have endless merit. My goal is the same as Yifeng's. It is enough to destroy the sect and seize the merit. As for you..." Jin Dayu looked at the crowd. "My lord, what do we do?" The crowd asked in confusion. "After the sect is destroyed, there will be countless Dharma treasures and spirit stones. You will be responsible for transporting them," Jin Dayu said indifferently.
Ah.
"Yes." The soldiers nodded in confusion. Dezhao's sacred ground. Yan Chuan held Mo Yushi's hand and looked at the domineering capital in the distance. With a command, all the sects in the world offered up their merit. Although he was shocked, Yan Chuan was more excited. How much of this merit would flow into Dezhen? The investiture of the gods was made up of the investiture of the gods and Tian So. It could convert merit into fate. If everything was as he thought, Dezhen would soon be promoted to imperial dynasty. The sea of merit covered the sky and the earth. Golden light shone on the land. A trace of satisfaction flashed in the capital's eyes. He turned to look at the wrinkled void. Yuan Tiangong, I am going to start. Arrange the stars in the sky and use the great suppressing boundary steel to invade this world. The capital said solemnly. In the image, Yuan Tiangong nodded respectfully. He waved the horsetail whisk in his hand, and a stream of light rushed into the sky. Chapter 905. Atlas Studios Yuan Tiangong swung his horsetail whisk towards the sky, and a stream of light shot into the sky. As the stream of light shot into the sky, it split into 108 forks and shot towards 108 directions in the sky. 108 beams of light shot into the sky, and 108 stars suddenly appeared in the sky in broad daylight. Yan Chuan stood on the dark Phoenix Mountain, and his eyes narrowed. Heavenly Dipper 36 stars and Earthly Fiend 72 stars? Connecting to the power of 108 stars at the same time? Among the immortals, he is considered an extremely strong expert. However, it doesn't seem that easy to mobilize the power of 108 stars at the same time. Yan Chuan said solemnly. Bai Ditian nodded as well. In the image, Yuan Tiangong's horsetail whisk seemed to have turned into energy as he slapped it on the Great World Suppressing Monument. Whoosh! The horsetail whisk turned into a layer of light that enveloped the Great World Suppressing Monument and connected to the 108 stars at the same time. Yuan Tiangong formed a hand seal and immediately shouted, Lord D, 10,000 troops attract the power of the stars.
Roar.
A loud roar suddenly came from heaven and earth, as if there were thousands of troops shouting at the same time. This sound? Bai Ditian said in surprise. Outside our world, my mother has already arranged an army. Mo Yushi explained. Yes. Yan Chuan nodded. As everyone spoke, they saw the light beam that connected the 108 stars in the image suddenly expand by 100 or even 1,000 times. Gulyalu. They could see that a huge amount of star power was being extracted from the stars and rushing down towards the Great World Suppressing Monument. Rumble. The Great World Suppressing Monument rumbled as it became bigger and bigger. Gradually, it became 1,000 times its original size. The Great World Suppressing Monument slowly floated up. After it was 30 feet above the ground, it suddenly fell. Hung. The Great World Suppressing Monument smashed into the ground. On the ground, a huge wave that could be seen with the naked eye swept out in all directions. It was like a stone falling into a mirror lake. A ripple swept out in all directions. However, unlike the ripples in the lake, there was only one ripple. Just this one ripple was enough to sweep out in all directions. In the image, the space there became blurry because of this tremor. The powerhouses of the Dazhao Holy Land could naturally see the vastness of that attack, but no one could see the extent of its vastness. After about the time it takes for an incense stick to burn. Rumble. The Great Zhao Holy Ground shook violently. Was there an earthquake in the Great Zhao Holy Land? Everyone looked at the screen in horror. Could this earthquake have come from the Central Divine Continent? Central Divine Continent? Almost all the experts were at a loss for words. They had seen countless Dharma treasures in the world, and there were even many immortal artifacts in this world. However, this was the first time that the great suppressing world steel in the image had shaken the entire world. What level of treasure was this? In the image, the distorted space slowly calmed down. The great suppressing world steel in the image was filled with a powerful aura. Yuan Tiangong stood to the side and said respectfully, reporting to the Divine Lord, this world has already been invaded. It's not easy to mobilize the power of the Star Core. Lord D won't be able to hold on for long. Saint Lord, please take action. Jing Ming nodded. Looking up, Jing Ming looked at the endless merit in the sky. Jing Ming narrowed his eyes and suddenly stretched out his white right hand. His right hand raised to the sky. At the same time, Jing Ming's body seemed to become bigger and bigger in an instant. In the blink of an eye, it reached the size of 1,000 feet. It was like a huge mountain with its head in the sky. Chapter 906. Jing Ming's palm reached into the Merit Sea. Jing Ming's eyes focused. He clenched his right hand. Ka 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 ka. Boundless merit was instantly pulled up and quickly shrunk into Jing Ming's palm. The sky was like a flat piece of cloth that was suddenly pulled into a ball by Jing Ming.
Cha!
Jing Ming shouted and pulled with his right hand. It was like a piece of cloth being pulled down in an instant. Rumble. From Jing Ming's palm, it radiated in all directions. The space suddenly trembled. The void trembled as if the entire world was about to collapse. Whoosh! Whoosh! In an instant, a huge gust of wind blew around the Dazhao sacred ground. From the trembling void, an endless storm blew down. Not only the Dazhao sacred ground, this hurricane quickly swept across the entire world. The East Divine Continent, the West Divine Continent, and the North Divine Continent all had a huge gust of wind. Around the world, countless experts looked at the sky in shock. Countless living beings in the world were being ravaged by the violent winds. Under one palm, heaven and earth moved. Cha! Jing Ming's face was distorted. Clearly, he was using almost all his strength at this moment. The powerful pulling force caused the sky to shake uncontrollably. As for the great world-suppressing steel, it held the ground and did not allow it to move. Clearly, if not for the great world-suppressing steel, heaven and earth might have collapsed from Jing Ming's palm. Around the Dazhao sacred ground, the cultivators who originally wanted to take advantage of the situation were all dumbfounded at this moment. Number one person in the world? Every time Jing Ming attacked, he seemed to be provoking people's nerves. Who dared to take advantage of him? How can this person who is clearly destroying the balance of the world appear in this world? Who can break this world with one palm? Who can compete with him? Master, the number one person in the world you are preparing to challenge is right in front of you. Do you still want to challenge him? Grandmaster, you said last time that Jing Ming was only SOSO. Is Grandmaster also so powerful? There were countless confused voices. Clearly, most of them were shocked by Jing Ming's strength. At this moment, even without Shangguan Wan-er's warning gaze, no one dared to cause trouble. No, even if they were crazy, they would not dare to cause trouble. If they ruined Jing Ming's plan, the lightest punishment would be to burn their bones and scatter their ashes. Yan Chuan was standing on Dark Phoenix Mountain. At this moment, the blue sky thundercloud in his Shinting acupoint throbbed, as if it had sensed something.
Buzz.
Vaguely, there seemed to be countless nets appearing in the void. The nets were illusory and real at the same time. They were faintly discernible, as if they had been pulled out by Jing Ming. On the other hand, if one were to take a closer look at the boundless net, it would seem to have some sort of indescribable rhythm, as if it was some sort of Tao. Justice has a long arm? Is that what I'm talking about? Bai Ditian asked in surprise. Through the skynet, Yan Chuan vaguely saw two huge runes, one black and one white. The runes were very clear, but Yan Chuan just couldn't remember them. He could see it, but he could not remember it. Yan Chuan was also unable to describe the shape of the rune. It was clearly a concrete object, but it seemed to have exceeded the scope of his mind. As soon as he closed his eyes, he forgot all about the shape of the runes. When he opened his eyes, he saw the runes again. It was an indescribable rune. There were two in total, one black and one white. It seemed to be there, but also seemed to be far away. Chapter 907. Goddess Jichen's Dao Seal? She's expression changed. Everyone in the Dazhao Holy Land held their breaths. The Dao Seal had appeared. The foundation of the world. The Dao Seal that Goddess Jichen had sealed back then? Shangguan Wan-er's face lit up with joy. Success was right in front of her. As long as Jing Ting made a move, he could take one. However, Jing Ting did not move. Instead, he looked at the center of the 2 Dao seals.
Buzz.
A huge figure slowly appeared in the center of the Dao seals. It had a human head and a snake body. It looked extremely vast. Just looking at it made one feel like they were worshipping it. It had the appearance of a woman, and her face was filled with compassion. Goddess Jichen? Someone suddenly cried out in surprise. The 4 great academies all had statues of Goddess Jichen. She was the ancestor of all creatures. This was Goddess Jichen? Countless cultivators were shocked. However, Jing Ting waited with rapt attention. Goddess Jichen's image appeared and looked at Jing Ting. "What's your name?" Goddess Jichen's image asked indifferently. "Wu Ting." "Greetings, Goddess Jichen," Jing Ting said after taking a deep breath. "You don't need to care about me. I'm just a remnant image of Goddess Jichen. I carry a trace of her will and reside in this sealed world. Now that you've awakened me, do you know what happened to the 5 worlds that Goddess Jichen sealed back then?" Goddess Jichen said softly. "They've all been opened. This is the last world. All the Dao seals that Goddess Jichen left behind have been taken by the heroes of the world." Jing Ting said. "How is the world now?" Goddess Jichen said with compassion. Jing Ting frowned slightly. After the heavens died, although they lost their protection, the heroes became even more ambitious than before. All the heroes rose up, fighting against the heavens with their lives and mending the heavens with their lives. Knowing shame makes one brave. I can die without regrets. This sealed world contains my comprehension. It's the heavenly Tao I understood before the heavenly Tao collapsed. I copied the fake heavenly Tao. Although it can't compare to the real heavenly Tao of the past, I hope it can contribute to mending the heavens. Take the 2 Dao seals. Goddess Jichen smiled.
No.
Jing Ting shook his head.
Huh.
I have my own Tao. I will only take your Tao seal for the sake of obtaining the proof of heaven and earth. I will establish the heavenly court. This world's pseudo-heavenly Tao should be left to those who come later. Jing Ting shook his head. Someone who came later? Goddess Jichen was slightly surprised. Jing Ming nodded. Goddess Jichen's statue suddenly laughed. All right, you have your own great Tao, so my fake heavenly Tao is naturally nothing to you. Great Tao. Back then, I comprehended too little of the great Tao. Otherwise, I could have done more for the world. I hope your great Tao is perfect and invincible. Jingyu received the sincere blessings of Goddess Jichen. My great Tao requires me to establish the heavenly court before it can take shape. I will take your Tao seal, said Jing Ting. As he spoke, Jing Ming reached out to grab one of the seals. Rumble. Goddess Jichen didn't stop him. Instead, she cupped her fists and gave him endless blessings.
Boom.
Jing Ming's left palm suddenly grabbed hold of the black Tao seal as it shook slightly. Take the Yin and leave the Yang. I will only take the Yin realm Tao seal. I will leave the Yang realm to those who come later. Jing Ting took a deep breath. As he spoke, he pulled with his left hand, and the faintly discernible skynet seemed to be pulled over in an instant. At the same time, in an extremely gloomy valley, Great Jin's feng shui master, Feng Yinyang, suddenly looked up at the sky. The surrounding void shook, and countless cracks appeared. Not good. The Yin realm is about to collapse. Feng Yinyang's expression changed. Chapter 908. In an extremely eerie valley, Feng Yinyang, the feng shui master of Dezhen, suddenly looked up at the sky. The surrounding space shook, and countless cracks appeared. Not good. The netherworld is about to collapse. Feng Yinyang's expression changed. Everyone stop. Quickly, follow me back to the world of the living. Feng Yinyang shouted. Whoosh. Without hesitation, Feng Yinyang quickly took a step forward. The surrounding space distorted, and Feng Yinyang immediately entered it. Southern Divine Continent, in the world of the living. Terrible news. Li Songhai stood at the entrance of the Yellow Springs, commanding Yin soldiers to enter the world of the living and capture a large number of ghost cultivators. Suddenly, heaven and earth shook. My lord, not good. The netherworld is shaking as if it's about to collapse. All the ghosts of the netherworld are rushing over. A cultivator on the Yellow Springs Road cried out. Something happened to the netherworlds. Li Songhai's expression changed. Remove the defenses and let them in. The more the better. Li Songhai shouted. Yes. Rumble. Countless ghost Dao cultivators rushed over in fright, afraid that they would be too late. Li Songhai frowned. The netherworld? What's wrong? What happened to the netherworld? Li Songhai pulled over a ghost cultivator and asked. It's shattered. The netherworld is completely shattered. The ghost cultivator said in horror. What? Li Songhai didn't understand. Ghost cultivators surged forward. After 2 hours, the road to the Yellow Springs suddenly began to shake.
Boom.
There was a loud explosion. The Yellow Springs Road collapsed. Everything froze. It disappeared. The Yellow Springs Road collapsed. The netherworld is completely destroyed. There will be no more netherworld in this sealed world? Li Songhai muttered to himself. Dajiao's sacred ground. Jingming held up the sky with one hand and grabbed the black seal with the other. Rumble. Above the skynet, hundreds of millions of heavenly lightning suddenly burst out, pouring down on Jingming. Jingming's eyes widened as he suddenly let out a long roar at the heavenly lightning descending from the seas. Cha! His face was ferocious as he faced the heavenly lightning. Rumble. The surging heavenly lightning went against the flow and retreated back into the heavenly net. Countless Xiozha around the great light, holy land gaped in shock. Was this a joke? You scared the heavenly thunder away? Even the heavenly thunder could be scared away? At this moment, the skynet was much dimmer. Jingsheng grabbed the black Dao seal and pulled it back into his sleeve. His right hand suddenly loosened.
Boom.
The boundless merit points that were pulled out were spread out again. However, at this moment, more than half of the boundless merit points had been lost. The heavenly net in the sky slowly disappeared from the void, and the white Dao seal seemed to have become much larger in an instant and disappeared as well. Successfully plucked the Dao seal? Shangwan and Yuan Tiangang both looked delighted. Congratulations, Holy Lord. You will enjoy immortal blessings forever and live as long as the heavens. The disciples of the great Zhao dynasty were all overjoyed and congratulated him. Jing Ting's expression was much calmer. Instead, he looked at Goddess Zhichen, who had yet to disappear. Many thanks, Jing Ting said sincerely. You only have half of it. Naturally, I won't make things difficult for you. I wish you good luck, and I hope that everyone in the world can live an ignoble life. They will. As long as I'm alive, my people will live in the light and die in the dark. Jing Ting nodded. Goddess Zhichen crossed her fingers and clenched her fists in front of her chest again, looking like she was praying for Jing Ting. Gradually, Goddess Zhichen disappeared. The sky became clear again. The sun shone down, making Jing Ting even more radiant. Chapter 909. Dao's seal plucked. Jing Ming succeeded. Jing Ming looked around, and everyone looked at him with admiration. Great Zhao disciples, I am about to leave this world. Jing Ming suddenly shouted. As Jing Ting spoke, the countless disciples in the surroundings suddenly revealed looks of surprise. Ascending to become an immortal? Holy Lord ascending to become an immortal? Some were happy, some were worried. Because everyone knew that the reason why Great Zhao's sacred ground was the #1 sect in the world was because of Jing Ming. Once Jing Ming left, would Great Zhao's sacred ground still be the #1 sect in the world? Congratulations, Holy Lord. The countless disciples could only congratulate him. Jing Ming nodded and looked at Shangwan. Shangwan waved her hand. Middle Void Realm, step forward. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Streams of light shot over, and in the blink of an eye, 300 practitioners appeared in the Wu clan's main hall square. 300? The experts from the other sects took a deep breath. These were all Middle Void Realm experts. The #1 sect in the world had too many talents. Shangguan said, Holy Lord is merciful, ascending is imminent. Great Zhao's sacred ground, Middle Void Realm and above, if you are willing to follow Holy Lord will bring you to the immortal world.
Wow.
Everyone was in an uproar. Whether it was Great Zhao's sacred ground disciples or outer sect disciples, they were all shocked. Ascending? Wasn't it only possible for one person to ascend? How could Jingming bring so many people with him? How is this possible? The 300 Middle Void Realm experts were all surprised. Everything is up to you. You have 6 hours. Holy Lord is merciful and allows you to bring 10 relatives. Only 10. Quickly prepare. Shangguan ordered again. Yes. Thank you, Holy Lord. Thank you, Holy Lord. The 300 Middle Void Realm experts were overjoyed. Immortal world? Not only could they ascend with Holy Lord, but they could also bring 10 people with them. In an instant, the 300 Middle Void Realm experts flew in all directions, looking for their relatives and disciples. In Great Zhao's sacred ground, countless disciples below the Middle Void Realm were envious. Martial Ancestor, I am going to pick up Martial Wife. Martial Ancestor, I am going to pick up your daughter. The disciples of Great Zhao's sacred ground went crazy. The leaders of the 5 major sects were all here, and they were all overjoyed. Guyu Holy's son flew over with his brothers and sisters. Dao Lord Yu looked slightly worried. However, in the end, her eyes were resolute as she summoned her 3 wives and 7 children. Dao Lord Black Sun, however, frowned slightly. Holy Lord! Mohina Dojin suddenly called out respectfully. Jingming turned his head and looked over. Holy Lord, I. Mohina Dojin found it hard to speak. You want to stay? Jing Ting immediately understood. Yes. Mohina Dojin replied immediately. Morning, have you gone mad? Dao Lord Yu exclaimed. The others also looked at Maori in confusion. This was a good opportunity to ascend, and Mohina Dojin actually gave it up? Jingting looked at Mohina Dojin. Maori, I told you before that there are some things that you can't touch. Jingming said with a cold look in his eyes. Mohina Dojin's expression changed as he looked at Jingming in surprise. Plop. Mohina Dojin immediately knelt down. Mourning is foolish. Holy Lord is wise. Holy Lord, please forgive me. Mohina Dojin immediately cried out. Forgive? The surrounding people were confused. What happened to Mohina Dojin? What did he do wrong? Jingming looked coldly at Mohina Dojin. The 10,000 Wonders Demon Lotus is an evil item. You can't control it. Jingming took a deep breath and sighed. Chapter 9-10. Although Dao Monarch Morning Sun was kneeling in front of Jingling, he still maintained a trace of persistence and said, Morning Sun wants to give it a try. When Morning Sun ascends in the future, I will definitely look for the Sacred Master and contribute all of my research. No need. Since you don't want to listen to me, you can do it yourself. Jing Ting shook his head and said. Jing Ting relented? Yes. Thank you, Sacred Lord, for not blaming me. Mohina Dojin said happily. Before I woke up from my previous life, you had been following me. You protected me several times without caring about your life. Of course I remember it clearly. If I leave, I won't be able to take the Great Zhao Holy Ground with me. I will pass it to you. We are even. Jing Ting said in a deep voice. Yes. Thank you, Sacred Lord. Mohina Dojin said gratefully. Jing Ting flipped his hand and a scroll of Tian Sob appeared in his palm. Shangguan took it and placed it in front of Mohina Dojin. Take care of yourself. Jing Ting said one last sentence. Yes. Thank you, Sacred Lord. Mohina Dojin knelt down heavily in front of Jing Ting. 6 hours passed in the blink of an eye. Out of the 300 Upper Emptiness Realm experts, only 16 were unwilling to ascend. The others all brought 10 of their relatives and disciples and stood respectfully in the square of the Wu clan's main hall. These 6 hours were also the last 6 hours for Yen Chuan and Mo Yushi in this world. Yan Chuan, and Mou Shi reluctantly said goodbye. When the time was up, Mou Shi left reluctantly. In the Mingfeng Mountain, Yan Chuan's eyes flashed with a trace of hatred. Power? Power. Yan Chuan gritted his teeth and said with hatred. If he was as powerful as Jing Ting, why would Mou Shi leave? He took a few deep breaths and found it hard to calm his emotions. Qinglong, Bai Long, Rosefinch, Xuanwu, and the others naturally followed Mou Shi and left. There were more than 3,000 people standing in the square of the Wu clan's main hall. Everyone was overjoyed. Only Mou Shi looked at Yan Chuan, her eyes filled with reluctance. There were countless Xiozha in the square. No matter if they were from the Great Zhao Holy Land or the experts of the outer sects, their eyes were filled with envy. Ascending to become an immortal? This was the dream of many Xiozha. Even if it was an upper emptiness realm expert, it would still be a narrow escape from death. However, this group of people were all at the void stage. Could they ascend to the immortal world? No, among their family members, the weakest one was still a baby in their arms. How could he ascend like this? Countless cultivators were filled with regret. If they had known, they would have joined the Great Zhao Holy Land back then. Di Qing, break the boundary, Jing Ting said in a low voice. As he spoke, Jing Ting stretched out his hand and beckoned towards the sky. A stream of light shot straight into the horizon.
Boom.
There was an explosion in the sky, and then a large hole suddenly appeared in the sky. In the big hole, endless golden light rushed down and enveloped everything around the Wu clan's main hall. Jingling stomped his foot. Rumble. A white cloud appeared under everyone's feet and carried everyone up to the sky. They flew towards the big hole in the void. As for Yuan Tiangang, because his strength had already surpassed immortals, it was easy for him to ascend. For immortals, it was only easy to leave this world, but difficult to enter. On the Wu clan square, more than 3,000 Xiozha ascended at the same time. The scene was extremely spectacular. Countless Xiozha looked at them enviously as they flew towards the hole. However, Yan Chuan looked at Mou Shi with great reluctance and unwillingness. Mou Shi gave Yan Chuan a gentle smile. When the golden light enveloped everyone and prevented outsiders from seeing them clearly, Mou Shi's eyes were also filled with reluctance. Stroking her belly, Mou Shi bit her lips. Her heart was filled with guilt. I don't want the baby to become a fetter in your heart. I'm sorry that I didn't tell you. However, don't worry, I will give birth to him and take good care of him. When we are strong, we will reunite as a family. Do you still remember the feng shui formation when we first met? We met a nightmare inside and had a beautiful dream. In the dream, we also gave birth to a baby. There, you gave the baby a name, Yandong En. The name you gave the baby is Dong En. Mou Shi thought with difficulty. Chapter 911. Enveloped in golden light, Jing Ting led more than 3,000 people to ascend to the immortal world. For a moment, auspicious clouds appeared all around the Dazhao Holy Land. Rays of light shot up to the sky, and the people could even hear the sound of bamboo. It was a very thick and beautiful sound. For a moment, countless cultivators were intoxicated. Immortal music? When cultivators ascend, the heavens and earth congratulate them. They really ascended. Around the Dazhao Holy Land, countless cultivators were envious. Once someone ascended to the immortal world, this sealed world would be filled with rays of light, congratulating the ascension. This was the heavens and earth's congratulation, encouraging all the cultivators in the world. And this congratulation of the heavens and earth sent a signal to the entire world. In a city of the Dazhao Holy Land, Meng Wenruo waved the white feather fan and took a deep breath. Jing Ting took the Dao seal. It seems like he succeeded. Jing Ting also ascended? It's time begin. Change the flag on the city wall. Meng Wenruo shouted. Yes. The crowd of cultivators immediately responded. In a valley, Hua Guang stood on the head of a giant tiger and saw the sky filled with rays of light, congratulating the heavens and earth. Soldiers, It's time for you to make contributions. Pick up your weapons and follow me to kill. Huoguang shouted.
Kill.
In the valley, a loud roar rushed to the sky. And in a sect not far from Huoguang, inside the sect, countless disciples were looking at the rays of light in the sky. In the square of the sect master's hall, a white-browed old man came with his hands behind his back, followed by a group of purple-robed cultivators. Ascended? Could it be that Jingting ascended? Sect Master, with Jingting gone, will our sect expand? Sect Master. Everyone looked at the white-browed old man. The white-browed old man shook his head and said, "The direction of the Dazhao Holy Land will be the place where the sects will attack. The future is unknown. We should not take the risk." But everyone saw a ray of light in the white-browed old man's eyes. The Great Qin dynasty in the south has more than 100 cities. The Great Qin dynasty is weak and hasn't been established for long. Those cities will be a waste in their hands. Why don't you hand them over to our sect to manage? Our sect's strength will definitely increase. The white-browed old man said with certainty. I heard that Yan Chuan hasn't attended morning court for many years. Yan capital must be empty. Sect Master, shall we take this opportunity to destroy Dezhen? A cultivator laughed. The white-browed old man nodded with a smile, while everyone was planning to attack Yanjing.
Kill.
In the distance, a loud battle cry could be heard. The voice was very far away, but there seemed to be millions of cultivators shouting. Go and take a look. What's going on? The white-browed old man called out. Suddenly, a white light shot over from afar. Reporting, Sect Master. Not good. The Great Jin Empire's army is coming. In a valley. Yifeng led close to 10,000 cultivators and drove the zombies towards a vassal sect of the Great Zhao Holy Land. Look carefully. Don't let any of these zombies escape. Yifeng called out. Yes. Zhu Jiansheng and the others immediately responded. In another vassal sect of the Great Zhao Holy Land. In the sky, countless merits shone on this vassal sect. Countless cultivators looked up at the endless, auspicious clouds in the sky. A man in a golden robe suddenly appeared in the sky above the sect with a giant bell in his hand.
Dong.
The giant bell suddenly rang loudly.
Ah. Ah.
Countless cultivators in the sect immediately covered their ears and cried out in pain. Who is it? Suddenly, more than 10 strong cultivators rushed into the sky and surrounded Jin Deyu. Chapter 912. The Great Jin Dynasty's third army commander, Jin Deyu, is here on the Emperor's orders to enlist you. Jin Deyu shouted. Enlistment. Everyone's face sank. Everyone, I believe you can tell that Jingting has already ascended. Jin Deyu shouted. So what? Someone immediately shouted. The Great Zhao Holy Land's master must have changed hands. You are a sect conferred by the Great Zhao Holy Land. You are bound to the Great Zhao Holy Land for good or ill. I don't know who the new master is, but it is definitely not Jingting. Your ocean of merits comes from the Great Zhao Holy Land and cannot be independent. You can either remain loyal to the Great Zhao Holy Land or join my Great Jin. I will report this to the Emperor and give you enough attention. Ha ha ha. What a joke. The Great Jin Dynasty? What is the Great Jin Dynasty? You want us to submit? A small dynasty is only equivalent to a lesser sect. We are a middle sect. One of them said disdainfully. Lesser? Do you think it is difficult for my Great Jin Dynasty to advance to the middle sect? Jin Deyu laughed.
Ha.
Everyone raised their eyebrows. I believe you can feel it from your ocean of merits. Your former sect master's upper void stage Dharma idol has disappeared. Jin Deyu said with a smile. Everyone frowned and looked at Jin Deyu. He shouldn't be in this world. He ascended with Jingting. As for your sect, the strongest is only at the middle void realm. In the East Divine Continent, your sect is already at the bottom of the middle-level sections. Moreover, your ocean of merits is not up to you. It was conferred by the Great Zhao, and the Great Zhao can take it back at any time. What is the point of you sticking to it? Jin Deyu said with a smile. Bastard. We don't need you to interfere in our... A cultivator immediately shouted. Junior brother, shut up. Another cultivator in purple robe shouted. Jin Dayu smiled and said, You don't know about the Great Jin dynasty, but you should know about me. As he spoke, Jin Dayu's aura suddenly burst out. Upper void stage? Everyone's expression changed. In the Great Jin dynasty, I am only a subordinate. Do you still think the Great Jin dynasty is weak? Jin Dayu laughed. Everyone's expression changed. In the past, the undying sacred ground was destroyed, and the Dazhao sacred ground rose. Today, the Dazhao sacred ground is nearing its end. Everyone, it's time for you to decide your life. Jin Dayu took a deep breath and said, Decide one's life again? Everyone raised their eyebrows. The leader of the purple-robed cultivators looked at Jin Dayu and said, If I use the sex power of merit, you might not be able to defeat me. Jin Dayu smiled faintly and did not refute. Do you know why I'm telling you all this? Jin Dayu asked with a solemn expression. Out of the 5 major vassal sects of the Dazhao Holy Land, the Lanyu sect was destroyed by King Gaiyu. There are still 4 major vassal sects left. Dazhao, will definitely obtain the merits of these 4 major vassal sects. Jin Dayu said after taking a deep breath.
What?
Everyone's expression changed. What arrogance! The purple-robed cultivator said in a deep voice. Tone, it won't be long before you learn the truth. As for why I'm wasting my breath on you, it's because your sect is about to approach my Great Jin. I'm willing to accept everything you have, so I didn't kill you, said Jin Dayu. Approach?
Ha ha ha.
The Great Jin dynasty and my sect are separated by a middle-rank sect. How can we be neighbors? A cultivator immediately said in disdain. However, that purple-robed cultivator's expression changed. Junior brother, shut up. Chapter 913. Everyone looked at the purple-robed cultivator. At the same time, they suddenly thought of something. Great Jin was going to destroy those sects as well? The purple-robed cultivator looked at Jin Dayu, and his gaze changed. Even if you destroy our 4 major sects, our merits will only flow back to the Great Zhao Holy Land. You won't get them. No, there's one possibility. Jin Dayu laughed. You even want to invade the Great Zhao Holy Land? The purple-robed cultivator immediately sucked in a breath of cold air. Jin Dayu didn't explain anymore because everything was enough. Jin Dayu took a deep breath and said, I'm only here to inform you and give you some time to consider. After the other 3 major vassal sects are destroyed, I'll come to ask you again. At that time, if you still don't agree, I'll take action. A cultivator's expression changed. Jin Dayu flew into the sky. After flying for a while, he turned his head and said, I hope you all can decide as soon as possible, because the sooner you decide, the more you can contribute to Great Jin during this period. The more you can obtain, the more power Great Jin will have. Finished speaking, Jin Dayu turned into a stream of light and disappeared in an instant. Bastard, come on! A disciple shouted angrily. Junior brother, shut up. The purple-robed cultivator immediately frowned. Everyone looked at the purple-robed cultivator. Senior brother? The purple-robed cultivator took a deep breath and said, I didn't expect it. I really didn't expect it. I could guess that the Holy Lord would ascend, but the first to rise in the East Divine Continent is actually the Great Jin dynasty. This is too inconceivable. Senior brother, do you think what he said is true? Everyone was shocked. The purple-robed cultivator nodded and said, The upper void realm is a subject, and I know that the tiger race has already submitted to Great Jin. Also, not long ago, Yan Chuan even captured true Lord Lanyu. The Great Jin dynasty's power and ambition are too great. But can Great Jin really become the strongest in the East Divine Continent? After all, the Great Zhao Holy Land still exists. Someone asked. It still exists, but without the Holy Lord, is the Great Zhao Holy Land still the #1 sect in the world? We are different from the other middle-rank sections. No matter how chaotic the world is, the other middle-rank sects can protect themselves because their merit cloud C is their own, but my merit cloud C doesn't belong to us. The purple-robed cultivator said. Everyone was silent. Senior brother, what should we do now? The few of you immediately disperse to the other 3 vassal sects, as well as the middle sects between us and the Great Jin dynasty. See if the Great Jin dynasty has really sent out their troops. Go quickly. The purple-robed cultivator immediately ordered. Yes. The group of experts immediately flew over. After making arrangements for everyone, the purple-robed cultivator looked up at the sky and sighed. Julu Academy, Radiant World's entrance. Meng Lingtian brought Meng Rongrong and Dongfang Jingpai to look at the countless rays of light in the sky. Meng Lingtian took a small step forward with uncertainty. Old Meng, do you want to die? Dongfang Jingpai exclaimed. Teacher, you can't go out. You're already an immortal. Once you go out, you'll be suppressed by this sealed world. Endless heavenly thunder will descend. You won't be able to withstand it. Meng Rongrong said. Meng Lingtian ignored him and stepped forward with a trace of suspicion.
Who?
Meng Lingtian stood outside the light world. He looked up at the sky. After waiting for a while, not a single bolt of lightning appeared in the sky. It's gone? The confinement of heaven and earth is gone? What exactly happened? This world doesn't reject us immortals anymore? Meng Lingtian muttered to himself. Chapter 9:14. Dajiao's Sacred Ground. The light in the sky gradually disappeared. Gradually, the tear on his body began to heal. The sky became clear again. A gentle breeze blew past as if nothing had happened. However, the main character of this place, the master of the Dajiao Sacred Ground, along with the top forces of the Dajiao Sacred Ground, had almost all left. Looking at the place where Mo Yushi disappeared, Yan Chuan felt lost. Wu Clan's main hall plaza. Mohina Dojin only dared to open the Tian so that Jing Ting left behind. Once the Tian Su was opened, a golden light shot towards Mohina Dojin. Rumble. In the sky, endless merits rolled, as if the new master of the Dajiao Sacred Ground was changing. Tens of millions of cultivators of the Dajiao Sacred Ground stood in all directions. Greetings, Sacred Lord. Millions of cultivators congratulated Mohina Dojin. Of course, there were also millions of cultivators who didn't bow. Although Mohina Dojin was also in the upper emptiness realm and was also an expert, in the eyes of these people, he was far inferior to Jing Ting. Some people were not convinced by Mohina Dojin. Father, congratulations on taking control of the Dajiao Sacred Ground. Yang Zigu immediately ran to the front and said excitedly. Although it was a pity that he couldn't ascend with Jing Ting, he was still the young master of the Sacred Ground. Moreover, with how much his father doted on him, he was definitely above everyone else in the Sacred Ground. Mohina Dojin looked at the millions of experts bowing in front of him and revealed a satisfied expression. However, at this moment, a green light flew over. It was Yao Tianshang. He led 20 subordinates and flew in front of Mohina Dojin. Yao Tianshang was the first to jump out. He immediately attracted the attention of everyone. North Divine Continent. Yao Tianshang? Mohina Dojin's face darkened. Yao Tianshang smiled and said, Congratulations, Mohina Dojin, for taking control of the Dajiao Sacred Ground.
What do you want?
Mohina Dojin asked. Just as Mohina Dojin finished speaking, 10 of the 16 Middle Void Realm experts who were unwilling to ascend with him suddenly turned around and bowed towards Yao Tianshang. Greetings, Master. The 10 of them said respectfully.
Master?
Countless cultivators in the surroundings immediately revealed surprised expressions. What are you doing? You want to betray my great Zhao Holy Land? Yang Zigu immediately exclaimed. Yao Tianshang smiled faintly and said, These 10 are originally part of the Demon Clan. Although they have joined the Dajiao Holy Ground, they are still part of the Demon Clan. I am here to take away these Demon Clan members who are willing to follow me. Mohina Dojin, you won't stop me, right?
Huh?
Mohina Dojin's face darkened. Almost all the Middle Void Realm martial artists in the Great Revelation Sacred Ground had been taken away by Jing Ting. There were only 16 Middle Void Realm martial artists, and Yao Tianshang was going to take away 10 of them at once? What if I don't? Mohina Dojin said coldly. Yao Tianshang and Mohina Dojin immediately started to fight. Yao Tianshang's aura had also reached the upper void realm. Neither of them was going to give way to the other. On the other side, Yan Chuan watched as Mo Yushi disappeared and felt a sense of loss. At this moment, Yan Chuan was in a very bad mood. He wasn't even interested in watching the fight between Mohina Dojin and Yao Tianshang. This was because the news here would soon be delivered to him by the Great Jin East factory. "Let's go," Bai Ditian. Yan Chuan said.
Yes.
Bai Ditian nodded. This time, Jing Ting's strength had dealt a huge blow to Bai Ditian. Just as the two of them were about to leave, a voice that targeted them suddenly sounded. "Yan Chuan, you want to leave now? Isn't it a little too late?" A soft voice sounded. Chapter 9:15. Roar. With a dragon's roar, more than 100 figures soared into the sky. All of them were dressed in dragon robes and riding dragon horses. They stood in front of Yan Chuan with imposing auras. A huge aura surged over. Bai Ditian's expression changed as he immediately responded with his aura. "Protect Yan Chuan." There were more than 100 people, but the dragon horse of the leader was twice the size of the others. His face was dignified, and his eyes were sharp as he stared coldly at Yan Chuan. Yan Chuan was not afraid at all, as he replied coldly. At the same time, he recognized the leader at a glance. The leader was Yan Chuan, who had seen the painting countless times. "Kong Mo Ke?" Yan Chuan's eyes were cold. A ferocious glint flashed across Yan Chuan's eyes. Heaven Son of Heaven Mo Ke's eyes were cold, and it was as if thousands of long knives were about to shoot out and kill Yan Chuan. Kong Susu's vile spawn. No one would have thought that in just a few decades he would have such achievements. Heaven Son of Heaven Mo Ke said coldly. "Vile spawn? One day, the vile spawn you speak of will wring your head off. In honor of my parents' souls in heaven." Yan Chuan sneered. "Ha ha ha ha, one day? Will there be? After today, the vile spawn will no longer exist in this world." Heaven Son of Heaven Mo Ke sneered. Bai Ditian, who was standing at the side, frowned deeply. "Upper Void Realm?" Bai Ditian's expression darkened. It was not that Bai Ditian was afraid of the Upper Void Realm, but there were too many of them. Yan Chuan estimated with his eyes, 20 Upper Void stage martial artists? It seems like the Kong family has given you quite a bit of help this time. Heaven Son of Heaven Mo Ke's expression turned cold. Yan Chuan had actually seen through the group of people he had brought with him at a glance. This made Heaven Son of Heaven Mo Ke extremely angry. However, Heaven Son of Heaven Mo Ke quickly calmed down. He saw through them? So what if he saw through them? This is the paragon of the tiger race, Bai Ditian. Heaven Son of Heaven Mo Ke said solemnly. Bai Ditian narrowed his eyes at Son of Heaven Mo Ke. The Great Jin Empire is about to change hands. Bai Ditian, I will give you a chance. Submit to me now, and my great Buddha Empire will accept the Tiger Tribe. Otherwise, you will be buried here with Yan Chuan. Emperor Mo Ke looked at Bai Ditian. As Heavenly Son Mo Ke spoke, the 100 people behind him adjusted their surging battle hunger and pressed towards Yan Chuan and Bai Ditian. Bai Ditian did not say anything. Ha ha ha, Kong Mok, you really think highly of yourself. Yan Chuan sneered. Today, I have seen the murderer of my father. I can't kill him with my own hands now, but Kong Mok, remember my words. The revenge of my parents is absolutely irreconcilable. I will kill you. Moreover, I will execute you in front of everyone. Yan Chuan shouted coldly. Ha ha ha, do you have a chance? Emperor Mo Ke sneered. As Emperor Mo Ke spoke, he waved his hand, and 3 experts stepped out on their horses. All of them had long sabers hanging from their waists. Before they arrived, a wave of murderous intent pressed over. Yan Chuan smiled coldly and stretched out his hand. Roar! Suddenly, a heaven-shaking dragon roar came from the foot of Dark Phoenix Mountain. Rumble! Suddenly, countless cracks appeared on Dark Phoenix Mountain. boundless black aura came out of the cracks. The black aura was extremely ferocious, and all the vegetation that it passed withered. A ferocious and evil aura surged out. This is Countless cultivators in the surroundings looked over in shock. Even Yao Tianshang and Dao Lord Black Sun, who were in the midst of their battle, turned to look at him. Chapter 9:16. The dark phoenix mountain shattered, and a black aura soared into the sky. What was going on?
Boom.
The dark phoenix mountain suddenly exploded. Black fog immediately soared into the sky, and a black dragon head that was hundreds of meters long slowly emerged from the black fog. The moment the black dragon head appeared, a terrifying aura spread out. On the dragon head were Yan Chuan, Bai Ditian, and 50 black-robed figures. The one in the lead was Feng Yinyang. When the dragon head appeared, everyone saw that it was actually a blind dragon. It was a blind dragon head. The dragon body slowly swayed out. It was lifeless, but its power soared into the sky. The moment the black dragon appeared, it let out another dragon roar. Roar. The dragon's roar was so loud that it caused a strong wind to blow around the entire Dezhao sacred ground. The 3 upper void realm experts who had stepped out earlier were forced back by the aura of the blind dragon. Smack. He swung his dragon tail towards Prince Mo Ke. The 5 upper void realm experts' expressions changed as they rushed out.
Boom.
The 5 upper void realm experts attacked at the same time, and the sound shook the 9 heavens. The dragon tail knocked back, and the 5 upper void realm experts also retreated by 10 meters. The power of the dragon tail was so strong. Roar. The blind dragon let out a long roar and soared into the sky, carrying Yan Chuan and flying away in an instant. On the dragon head far away, Yan Chuan shouted, "Kong Mok, you want to kill me? I'll be waiting for you in Yanjing. I'll be waiting for you at any time." Roar. The blind dragon swung its tail and instantly headed south. Kong Mok watched Yan Chuan leave with a gloomy expression. "Your Majesty, that black dragon should be a type of feng shui dragon vein. However, I can't figure out how to make it so powerful." A person next to him was deep in thought. "Your Majesty, are we letting them go just like that?" Another person said unhappily. Kong Mok's expression was gloomy as he watched Yan Chuan and the others leave. He did not stop them. Yan Chuan? He's just a clown. When I'm done with my matters, I'll go and capture Yan Chuan."
Kong Mok said coldly. "Yes."
Everyone replied. Since Jing Ting has left, only Mohina Dojin is left in the Great Zhao Holy Grounds. Later, follow me to subdue Mao Ri and Yao Tianshang. I want the Great Zhao Holy Grounds to submit to the Great Buddha Imperial Dynasty. Kong Mok shouted. Yes. Everyone answered. Following which, they followed Kong Mok and looked towards the Wu clan main hall in the distance. In the Dazhao Holy Ground, there were only Mohina Dojin, an upper ethereal stage, and 6 middle ethereal stage cultivators left. The rest were weak lower ethereal stage cultivators. Although Kong Mok only brought 100 people with him this time, there were more than 20 upper ethereal stage cultivators. Kong Mok was determined to obtain the Great Zhao Holy Ground. Yan Chuan and his group stepped on the blind dragon and headed towards the south. Feng Yinyang led a group of feng shui masters and said respectfully to Yan Chuan, "Emperor, when you let us enter the netherworld, I set up my branch's Black Dragon Fantasy World formation. Originally, it was almost done. When Jing Ting failed, we could send 100 black dragons into the world of the living to assist Emperor in destroying or subduing the Great Zhao Holy Grounds. Unfortunately, the netherworld was destroyed and all of our arrangements were destroyed. Only this black dragon is left. Furthermore, with its connection to the netherworld broken, this black dragon won't be able to hold on for long. Perhaps in 2 to 4 hours it will collapse." Yan Chuan nodded. "This is not your fault. The Great Zhao Holy Grounds is not over yet." "Yes." Furthermore, from the looks of it, Kong Mok brought 20 upper ethereal stage cultivators and obviously wants to subdue the Great Zhao Holy Grounds. It won't be that easy. 10,000 Wonders, Demonic Lotus? Originally, I didn't think much of it. I didn't expect Jing Ting to place such importance on the 10,000 Wonders, Demonic Lotus. Kong Mok? I wonder what the result of their trip will be. Yan Chuan took a deep breath and said, yes. Feng Yinyang nodded. The news here will be sent back to Yanjing soon. Now, we need to return to Yanjing as soon as possible. After this battle, the Great Zhao Holy Grounds will definitely reach the peak and become an emperor dynasty. Yan Chuan said in a deep voice. Yes. Chapter 9:17. The Zhao Holy Land. The moment the experts brought by Son of Heaven Mo Ku released their auras, the entire place exploded. 20 Upper Void Realm experts and 80 Peak Middle Void Realm experts. They were all extremely strong people. The experts of the various sects watching the battle were all astonished. Everyone knew that when Jing Jun ascended, there would be a great reshuffle in the world. However, no one expected it to happen so quickly. When Son of Heaven Mo Ku and the others released their auras, the powerful pressure made the countless cultivators of the Dazhao Holy Land unable to resist. The pressure of an Upper Void Realm expert was not something ordinary people could withstand. Although the Dazhao Holy Land had close to 10 million cultivators, only about 5,000 Lower Void Realm experts could withstand the pressure of 20 Upper Void Realm experts. 5,000? It seemed like a huge group. However, could these people fight against 20 Upper Void Realm experts? 16 Middle Void Stage experts were facing 80 Peak Middle Void Stage experts. Son of Heaven Mo Ku did not move. The 80 Middle Void Realm experts blocked everyone. 4 Upper Void Realm experts against Yao Tianshang alone.
Boom.
The 4 Upper Void Realm experts chopped down with their sabers from 4 different directions, slashing towards Yao Tianshang.
Boom.
Yao Tianshang held his saber and soared into the sky, blocking the 4 experts with difficulty. The 5 experts were in a stalemate.
Bam. Bam. Bam.
The sharp saber energy left many bloody wounds on Yao Tianshang's body. Yao Tianshang could not move aside. Once he did, the 4 sabers would definitely kill him on the spot. Yao Tianshang, submit to me. Son of Heaven Mo Ku led the 16 Upper Void Realm experts and looked coldly at Yao Tianshang.
Cough. Cough.
Yao Tianshang coughed out a trace of blood, his eyes cold. Submit to me. Son of Heaven Mo Ku's aura pressed down again. Ha 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 ha.
Vomit.
Yao Tianshang spat out a mouthful of blood and laughed evilly. I will give you one last chance. Submit to me. Son of Heaven Mo Ku said coldly. In the square of the Wu clan's main hall, Son of Heaven Mo Ku suppressed everyone. What are you waiting for in your previous life? Yao Tianshang said coldly. Previous life? Son of Heaven Mo Ku frowned slightly. Countless cultivators around them showed curious expressions and looked at Yao Tianshang in confusion. As soon as Yao Tianshang finished speaking, he added another sentence.
Don't resist.
Let me take control of this life's body. Yao Tianshang said again. The surrounding experts.
Take it.
Yao Tianshang smiled in a carefree manner. Boom, boom, boom. Rays of white jade light suddenly appeared around Yao Tianshang. As soon as the light appeared, the space around Yao Tianshang started to tremble. Rumble. Yao Tianshang's saber turned pure white in an instant as it shot toward the sky. Yao Tianshang's eyes also shone with a gentle white jade light. Gradually, the ferocious look in Yao Tianshang's eyes disappeared. It was replaced by a look of condescension and disdain. It was a look of superiority, a look of absolute dominance. This look? Not far away, in front of the Wu clan's main hall, Mohina Dojin's expression changed. What's wrong with your eyes? Yang Ziga looked at his father in confusion. Sacred Master Jingying's eyes have this kind of aura. This is the gaze of a peerless expert. Mohina Dojin's expression changed. Apart from Mohina Dojin, many others could see it. Son of Heaven Mo Ku's expression darkened. He showed a hint of surprise. At the same time, he instinctively felt that something was wrong. He's not Yao Tianshang anymore. Quick, kill him.
Quick.
Son of Heaven Mo shouted. Chapter 9:18. Yes. The four upper void realm cultivators who were suppressing Yao Tianshang shouted at the same time. Ha! 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 The four shouted at the same time. The astral sabers in their hands suddenly doubled in size. Astral saber energies shot out in all directions toward Yao Tianshang.
Die.
The four upper void realm cultivators shouted at the same time. Yao Tianshang's demonic energy did not change in a storm of astral saber energies. However, the saber he swung seemed unstoppable for some reason. Roar! Yao Tianshang roared. Suddenly, a golden saber light flashed in the storm of astral saber energies.
Boom.
The entire storm of astral saber energies exploded. The boundless astral saber energies instantly collapsed. The golden saber light instantly slashed through the bodies of the four upper void realm cultivators. Boom! A bloody mist exploded in the air. The four upper void realm cultivators were instantly killed by one saber strike. Rumble! The ground trembled. However, the cultivators in the surroundings remained silent. One saber strike? Four upper void realm cultivators? Even Emperor Mo's mouth was agape. How could Yao Tianshang become so strong in an instant? The ground gradually calmed down. Yao Tianshang's figure appeared in the storm of astral saber energies again. Master, Spider King, and the other 30 middle void realm cultivators ran overexcitedly. At this moment, no one stopped these middle void realm cultivators. Yao Tianshang's shocking saber strike had already explained everything. Yao Tianshang, who was glowing with a faint white light, looked at the crowd. Finally, he looked at Emperor Mo. You are not Yao Tianshang.
Who are you?
Emperor Mo asked coldly. His gaze shifted from Emperor Mo to Mohina Dojin. Then he looked at the surroundings. Spider King, let's go. Yao Tianshang shouted. Yes, the great beasts answered. Aside from the 30 middle void realm cultivators, the Dazhao sacred ground had close to 300 lower void realm great beasts. They flew into the sky with Yao Tianshang. Yao Tianshang did not look for trouble with Emperor Mo. Instead, he prepared to leave with all the great beasts. Although that saber strike had humiliated Emperor Mo, it also proved Yao Tianshang's strength. No one dared to stop Yao Tianshang. Yao Tianshang mentioned his past life. Are you Yao Tianshang's past life?
Who are you?
Emperor Mo asked again. Emperor Mo acknowledged Yao Tianshang's strength, but he wasn't necessarily afraid of him. It was just that he didn't want both sides to suffer losses at this moment and lose his plan. Yao Tianshang flew up with the demons and turned to look at Emperor Mo. Remember, my name is Ju. As he spoke, Yao Tianshang led everyone and flew towards the north. In the blink of an eye, they disappeared from everyone's sight. He left the great Zhao Holy Land. The white light in Yao Tianshang's eyes dimmed slightly. In the blink of an eye, Yao Tianshang's expression returned to normal. In order to prevent this life's flesh body from relying on the previous life's me, I can't stay in this state for long, Ju said in a deep voice. Now I believe that you don't want to devour me. Yao Tianshang nodded. After I return, I will pass on all the memories of my previous life to you. At the same time, I have finally deduced a human body. It is time for me to split myself. Ju said in a deep voice. Yes. Yao Tianshang nodded. Dazhao sacred ground. Emperor Mo, Mohina Dojin, and the others watched as Yao Tianshang and the others left. Their expressions were extremely gloomy. Ju. Emperor Mo frowned and pondered. Mohina Dojin also frowned and pondered. This name didn't sound familiar. Ju. Suddenly, Emperor Mo's expression changed, and his pupils shrank. Chapter 9:19. Who is Ju? On the other side, Mohina Dojin's expression changed as well. He finally remembered. Ju? 30,000 years ago, he suppressed all the heroes of the world as a fiend. 30,000 years ago, he was the strongest person in the world? Mohina Dojin immediately sucked in a sharp breath. Mohina Dojin was not the only one who reacted. Many cultivators also gradually reacted.
Jew?
An unparalleled existence had indeed appeared in this world. However, it was too long ago. 30,000 years had passed. So many people did not think much about it. However, now that they thought about it, it was definitely not wrong. Killing 4 upper illusory realm cultivators with one saber strike? The strongest person in the world 30,000 years ago, Heavenly Sun Embark said through gritted teeth. The countless cultivators in the surroundings gaped in shock. The strongest person in the world just ascended. How did another strongest person appear? The strongest person in the world 30,000 years ago? When Jingming ascended, everyone understood that this world was about to undergo a huge reshuffle. However, Ju's appearance made everyone understand that this reshuffle would be even more intense and grand than they imagined. Of course, people still did not know that this was not as simple as a reshuffle. After this great change, even immortals would appear in this resplendent land. The strongest person in the world 30,000 years ago? So what? This is no longer 30,000 years ago. Jingming ascended. The new strongest person in the world will definitely be this emperor, Kong Mok. Heavenly Sun Embark said ferociously. After speaking, Heavenly Sun Embark turned to look at Mohina Dojin. Mohina Dojin, now that Yao Tianshang is gone, lead the great Zhao Holy Land and submit to my great Buddha imperial dynasty. Heavenly Sun Embark shouted. Mohina Dojin smiled coldly and said, Kong Mok, you have to understand that this is the East Divine Continent, the great Zhao Holy Land. It is not a place for you to behave atrociously. Humph. Is that so? Heavenly Sun Embark said with a sullen expression. The 16 upper illusory realm cultivators behind Heavenly Sun Embark released their auras and pressed down on Mohina Dojin. Dad, Pu. Yang Zigu was pressed down and immediately spat out a mouthful of blood. Mohina Dojin's face darkened. He waved his hand and shielded Yang Zigu behind him. Mohina Dojin grabbed a black lotus in his hand. Great Buddha Imperial Dynasty? So what? Mohina Dojin's eyes turned cold. Who? The black lotus instantly merged with Mohina Dojin's body. In an instant, a monstrous evil aura gushed out from Mohina Dojin's body. As soon as the evil aura appeared, it immediately collided with the aura of the 16 upper void realm martial artists.
Boom.
In the square of the Wu clan's main hall, the collision created a huge storm. 2 months later, Great Qin Dynasty, Yanjing. Inside an official's house, one of the eunuchs smiled at the official and said, Lord Zhang, today is the court assembly. Please enter the court quickly. His Majesty is back? The official was puzzled. The eunuchs didn't say anything. Instead, he smiled and said, the court assembly starts at 7 a.m., Lord Zhang. Don't be late. After saying that, the eunuchs immediately left and went to the next official's house. On this day, countless officials in Yanjing received the notice of the court assembly, and all of them headed to the Chaotian Palace. Imperial Palace. In a large hall, Lu Jin and Lu Gang stood respectfully in front of Zizi. Empress, it has begun. Marquis Yan has called for the court assembly today. All the officials have received the notice. It seems that we have to wait for today to act, Lu Jin said with a gloomy expression. Lu Gang also nodded and said, Empress, today a Baihu from the East faction reported that Yan Qiyu has already tried on the dragon robe in the residence. Try on the dragon robe? Humph. Zizi's eyes turned cold. Chapter 920. Great Qin Dynasty, Yan Capital, Imperial Palace, Chaotian Palace Square. There had not been a court assembly for more than a decade. Of course, Yifeng had helped Yan Chuan with some government affairs. So many officials had come to the Skyward Palace Square before. However, this was the first time so many officials had gathered. His Majesty is back. The officials who had arrived early all revealed puzzled expressions. Most of the officials had seen Yan Chuan before. After seeing the current Great Jin dynasty, everyone understood how great Yan Chuan was. Mortal empires were not on the same level as the current imperial empires. In fact, the officials here could destroy a dynasty of the past with their individual strength. Although they had not seen Yan Chuan for more than 10 years, the officials were still full of respect for Yan Chuan. As the officials waited, they suddenly discovered that on this day, nearly 100 members of the Yan clan had arrived at the Palace of Heaven. The Yan clan? Yan Chuan had given these people titles of nobility, but no official positions. However, Yan Chuan had never rejected these people. As long as they had the ability, they could participate in the normal assessment system of the Great Jin Empire and perform normal meritorious deeds, and they would be able to enter the imperial court. Logically speaking, the Yan clan was the happiest group of people in Dezhun. They didn't have to do anything, and enjoyed the noble titles that others had worked so hard to earn. Of course, none of the officials were jealous. At most, they were envious. After all, Yan Chuan's surname was Yan. The members of the Yan clan were also at a loss. There were shriveled old men and children who were just learning to walk. All of them had been summoned to the square of Skyward Hall. What are you doing? The Yan clan relatives were filled with curiosity. Yan Chuyu's children were also at a loss. Yan Chuyu had never told anyone about her rebellion. 7 in the morning. In front of heaven-facing hall, a large number of soldiers suddenly poured in from a large door. The soldiers all held weapons in their hands as they protected Yan Chuyu and the group of black-robed men. Yan Chuyu wore a flat imperial crown on her head and a set of golden-blue dragon robes. Step by step, she walked over in an extremely solemn manner. The officials and Yan clan members all turned their heads to look. Marquis Yan? Yan Chuyu, you, how dare you? A straightforward official immediately exclaimed. Traitor! How dare you wear the imperial robe? Another official exclaimed. The civil and military officials immediately burst into an uproar. Many of the eunuchs who were waiting around also revealed looks of panic. Even the members of the Yan clan were at a loss. Marquis Yan? Yan Chuyu? Why was he wearing a dragon robe? Father, what happened to you? One of Yan Chuyu's daughters cried out in alarm. A large number of soldiers rushed in, wielding sabers in their hands as they charged at the officials. Wherever they pointed their sabers, the officials were forced to retreat. Yan Chuyu walked over step by step. 20 black-clothed men followed behind him, their expressions extremely solemn. How dare you? Yan Chuyu, are you trying to rebel? An official shouted angrily. Boom! The official was punched to the ground by a soldier. Yan Chuyu coldly glanced around. Great Jin dynasty. Yan Chuan is tyrannical. He established the country, but did not manage it. He disregarded the lives of the people of Great Jin dynasty. He is a tyrannical and incapable ruler who does not deserve to enjoy the world. Yan Chuyu said in a low voice. How dare you?
Bastard.
Curses rang out. However, there were also some officials who agreed. Marquis Yan is right. Yan Chuan is incapable. He disregarded the lives of the people and caused them to suffer. Marquis Yan, on behalf of the people, we implore Marquis Yan to take charge of the situation. A treacherous official immediately shouted. Chapter 9:21. Marquis Yan, please ascend to the throne. Marquis Yan, please take charge of Zhen. Emperor Emeritus, please reclaim the throne. For a moment, the officials who had rebelled against Marquis Yan began to clamor. The Great Jin dynasty's officials followed the 4 generals to different battlefields. The officials who stayed behind weren't officials, but officials who were capable of handling government affairs. They weren't mediocre officials, but they weren't incompetent either. The officials were immediately divided into 2 factions, and they even started fighting. Father, I support you. One of Yan Chuyu's sons shouted happily. Many of the Yan clan's relatives had complicated expressions on their faces. Yan Chuyu's bloodline was closer to theirs, but many of them were loyal to Yan Chuan after seeing how powerful Great Zhen was.
Why would they rebel now?
Traitor, an elder of the Yan clan scolded. Eighth uncle, you used to be an important official of Great Yan. How can you call my father a traitor? Do you know how much my father values you? Once Great Yan restores, my father will definitely put you in an important position. Yan Chuyu's son shouted. Get lost. The elder of the Yan clan scolded. The square of Chaotian Hall was in chaos. At this moment, an old eunuch walked out. Everyone, Yan Emperor is now in charge of all places in Yan capital, including the Qianhu of the East faction. Yan Emperor is now a lower void realm expert. I'm sure you all know that Yan Chuan is only in the immortal state. How can an immortal state Yan Chuan compare to Yan Emperor? Great Zhen was originally expanded from Great Yan. Yan Emperor's return to power is in accordance with the will of heaven. The old eunuch shouted. After the old eunuch finished speaking, he opened the jade box in his hand, revealing an imperial seal. Today, Emperor Yan ascends to the throne once again, and all the officials pay their respects. Tomorrow, Emperor Yan announces to the world that everyone will celebrate and honor the new emperor's ascension to the throne. The old eunuch held up the imperial seal and shouted, Long live His Majesty! Long live His Majesty! Immediately, 1/3 of the officials knelt down and shouted, Long live the emperor! A third of the members of the Yan clan also knelt down. Long live the mountain! However, the others continued to curse. Rebel! The emperor will definitely not forgive yous. Rebels and traitors! Once the emperor's army arrives, none of you will survive. While the officials were cursing, the soldiers that Yan Chuyu had brought with her immediately stepped forward and started fighting.
Boom, boom, boom.
A group of officials fell to the ground with heavy injuries. Humph, Yan Chuan, you brat, how capable are you? Yan Chuyu took a step forward and said, Yan Chuyu is now in my control, and there are 20 important people in the cities who used to be Great Yan's officials. Today, Yan Chuyu took a step forward and said, Everyone, pay your respects to the new emperor now. The new emperor will definitely put you in an important position. Otherwise, our blades will not show any mercy. The old eunuch shouted.
Shing.
The soldiers raised their long sabers and pointed them at the civil officials.
Bah.
Yan Chuyu, Great Zhen's system has been perfected. Great Zhen only has one emperor. Do you think you can usurp the throne? Dream on. One of the officials shouted. The emperor is only sending out the army. If you rebel at this time, the emperor will definitely kill you. Another official shouted angrily. Humph.
Kill.
The old eunuch shouted angrily. Chapter 9:22. Xing. A few soldiers immediately attacked. However, they did not attack the officials who cursed Yan Chuyu. Instead, they attacked the officials who were kneeling on the ground and bowing to Yan Chuyu. Golialu. In the blink of an eye, 10 heads rolled on the ground.
What?
Yan Chuyu's expression changed. How dare you? The old eunuch shouted. However, the 1,000 soldiers who came with Yan Chuyu suddenly pointed their swords at Yan Chuyu and the group of black-robed men. You, the old eunuch cried out.
Quang.
The doors of the skyward palace opened. The moment the doors of the palace opened, Zi stepped out of the palace. Behind Zi were Lu Gang, Lu Jin, and a group of soldiers armed with swords and sabers. Greetings to the Empress. Long live the Empress, the officials said respectfully. On the other hand, the traitorous officials widened their eyes and trembled. Yan Chuyu, my husband sent a letter to give you a chance to repent. However, you still took this step, Zizi shouted coldly. Humph, Yan Chuan only has a father who cultivates. He has a better springboard to become an emperor. He is not as good as me. How can a cultivator who travels all day be fit to be an emperor? Moreover, is his cultivation as fast as mine? I have already reached the lower emptiness realm. He is not as good as me as an emperor. He is not as good as me in terms of cultivation. Don't worry. I will not kill him. After I ascend the throne, I will confer him the title of Duke. He can still stay in Great Jin. Yan Chuyu said. Heh. You still refuse to realize your error? ZZ said coldly. Refuse to realize my error? This should be mine. Do you think these soldiers can do anything to me? Yan Chuyu said coldly. Yan Chuyu released her aura.
Bang. Ah.
The 1,000 soldiers were sent flying. In the blink of an eye, they were sent flying far away. The officials were also sent tumbling to the ground. Yan Chuyu led the old eunuch and the group of black-robed men to stand in the center of the palace and face ZZ. Humph. ZZ snorted coldly. ZZ's aura burst out from her body. When ZZ arrived at Divine Sect's sacred grounds, the resources ZZ obtained were countless times more than Yan Chuyu. Moreover, ZZ's physique was incomparably strange. Her cultivation had already reached the lower void realm. The moment the massive aura emerged, it immediately battered Yan Chuyu's aura into disorder. A black-robed person stepped forward, blocking in front of Yan Chuyu. Little girl, you're quite capable, the black-robed man said coldly. ZZ took a step out of the hall. He walked over step by step. Middle void stage? Haha, in other sects, a middle void stage cultivator is an incredible existence. However, in our Great Jin Empire, if you dare to cause trouble, even an upper void stage cultivator will have to lie down. ZZ said coldly. Upper void stage? My master was struck by a demonic art and died. It was you? The black-robed man said in shock. As soon as the black-robed man shouted, the other black-robed men also panicked and became alert. Not long ago, an upper void stage martial artist had died inexplicably, and this had already caused everyone to be terrified. ZZ did not waste any more words. With a wave of her hand, a beam of green light shot out from her sleeve.
Ah.
The moment the vine demon appeared, it suddenly split into billions of vines and pounced toward Yan Chuyu and the black-robed men.
Ah.
The old eunuch from before immediately cried out in shock. Oh no! The black-robed men's expressions also changed. At this moment, Yan Chuyu was the only one who remained calm.
Boom. Boom. Boom.
The black-robed men immediately rushed into the sky and fled in fear. However, among the black-robed men, the upper void stage cultivator had already been killed by ZZ's Nailhead 7-arrow book. The strongest among them was only a middle void stage cultivator. How could they be a match for the vine demon? Sounds of collisions could be heard in the sky. One by one, the black-robed men were entangled by the vine demon and imprisoned. North of Yanjing, by Ditian led Yanchuan, Fo Minyang, and the others as they flew quickly. We'll reach Yanjing in 2 days. Bai Ditian said after taking a deep breath. Yan Chuan nodded. Yan Chuan could sense the providence of Great Jin Empire, so he naturally felt the subtle changes in the officials involved in the providence. Yan Chuyu? She still rebelled after all. Yan Chuan took a deep breath and frowned slightly. Chapter 923. 5 days later. Great Jin Dynasty, Yanjing, Heavenly Prison. 30 to 40 people were locked up in a huge prison. 20 of them were the black-robed men who helped Yan Chuyu in her rebellion 5 days ago. The other 10 were Relic Buddha and the other experts. Relic Buddha, you've been captured as well? How is this possible? How is this possible? One of the black-robed men had his cultivation sealed. Relic Buddha looked at the black-robed man with a bitter expression. Where's your master? Relic Buddha asked.
He's dead.
He was killed by Yan Chuan's woman using sorcery. Master's death is unclear. The black-robed man said bitterly. Don't worry. His Majesty will definitely come and save us. His Majesty will definitely come. Another black-robed man muttered to himself. Will he?
Sigh.
Relic Buddha's eyes flashed with despair. We've underestimated Yan Chuan. Kong Susu was so stunning back then. How could her son be weak? We shouldn't have. When Kong Susu died, we should have killed Yan Chuan. We shouldn't have. Relic Buddha said regretfully. Everyone was filled with regret. In the cell next door, There were also cries of fear. All the officials who were involved in this rebellion were locked up. After the investigation by the East faction, all the traitors were exposed and captured. All the officials were filled with regret. They were all caught in Jiaohu. However, they couldn't change the fact. There was another small cell next door. In that cell, Yan Qi looked calm. She sat there quietly without a trace of despair or regret. Quang. The door of the cell opened. Lu Gang led a group of East faction factory guards into the prison. Lord Lu, we were wrong. Lord Lu, please give me a chance. Lord Lu, I'll give you all my assets. Please let me go. Lord Lu, I invited you to the banquet last year. Lord Lu, please let me go. Everyone was shouting for Lu Gang, but Lu Gang's expression was cold. He ignored them. Lu Gang walked to the front of Yan Qiu's prison. Open it. Lu Gang shouted. Yes. A few guards quickly opened Yan Qiu's prison. Yan Qiu, His Majesty has returned. Come with me to meet His Majesty. Lu Gang said. Yan Qiu stood up and nodded. Without saying anything, he followed Lu Gang out of the prison. He was escorted out of the prison by 4 guards. The traitorous officials in the prison were all terrified. His Majesty is back. His Majesty is back. Someone exclaimed. Wah, I'm a rank 6 official. I have a bright future ahead of me. Why would I want to rebel?
Wah!
An official cried. Yan Chuan's return signified that the dust of this matter had settled. The official's power was gone. At the same time, none of the traitorous officials did not regret it endlessly. But if regret was useful, what was the point of having laws? Yan Qiu was taken away. Yan Jing, Chaotian Palace. In the main hall there were 2 rows of people. One row was made up of Dezhen's courtiers, those who were loyal to Yan Chuan. The other row was made up of the Yan clan's relatives. Those who stood at the front looked calm because they supported Yan Chuan. At the back were Yan Qiu's children, who were trembling.
Rebellion?
Father rebelled? It would have been fine if he had succeeded, but he had failed. Moreover, Yan Chuan had returned. The officials and Yan clan's relatives stood respectfully. Chapter 924. To the north of Chaotian Hall, Yan Chuan sat on the dragon throne, dressed in a black dragon robe and wearing a black jade imperial crown. He held the armrest of the throne and calmly looked down at the officials. Lu Jin stood to the side, holding a horsetail whisk. The hall was filled with a deathly aura. Yan Qiu is here, a voice called out from outside the hall. Bring him in, Yan Chuan sternly said. In the great hall, almost all the officials and the Yan family clansmen tensed up as they quietly looked outside the great hall. It was Lu Gang who led them here. Lu Gang walked in the front while 4 factory guards escorted Yan Qiu behind him. Your Majesty, Yan Qiu is here. Lu Gang respectfully bowed. Following that, Lu Gang dismissed the guards and stood among the officials. At this moment, the 4 commanders were not present, so Lu Gang naturally stood at the first position on the left. Yan Chuan sat on the dragon throne while Yan Qiu stood in the middle of the hall. The 2 of them looked at each other. The hall was completely silent. Yan Qiu, we have treated you well. Yan Chuan took a deep breath. Yan Chuan had indeed treated Yan Qiu well. Marquis Yan? Although it was only a marquis, it was the highest noble title at the time of Great Jin's founding. Even the founding heroes like Yi Feng, Lu Gang, and Hu Guang were only marquises. It wasn't that Yan Chuan didn't want to set up dukes, but that Great Jin still had a long way to go. They could only be promoted when their merits were sufficient. However, marquis was a lifelong thing. The stronger Great Jin became, the harder it would be to fight for a marquis. Apart from the emperor and empress, Yan Qiu had the advantage of being a blood relative. Even so, Yan Qiu still wasn't satisfied. Back then, Yan Qiu had given up the throne in exchange for entering the cultivation world. Now that Yan Chuan had given it to him, Yan Qiu still betrayed him? Yan Chuan stared at Yan Qiu. Yan Qiu's emotions were extremely calm. Looking at Yan Chuan, Yan Qiu took a deep breath and smiled softly. I knew this day would come. Oh. The ministers of Great Zhen looked at Yan Qiuyu in surprise. Looking at Yan Chuan on the dragon throne, Yan Qiuyu bitterly said, "In the past, even as an emperor, there would be a day when I would die. That's why I'm afraid of death. In order to step onto the path of cultivation and live forever, I'm willing to give up everything." But when I stepped onto the path of cultivation, I realized that I wasn't pursuing longevity because I was afraid of death. It was because I was afraid of losing my authority. I was afraid of losing the authority that I possessed throughout the world. Yan Qiuyu spoke bitterly. The hall was silent as Yan Chuan stared fixedly at Yan Qiuyu. I lost the throne. At first, although I was unwilling, I also knew that everything was impossible. However, one day, a group of people suddenly came to my residence. They were willing to give me power and help me. Moreover, my strength really increased. In my heart, I believed that I could replace you and rule the world for tens of thousands of years. Yan Qiuyu said bitterly. I knew that I would fail, but I still wanted to try. Even if my body was crushed, I still wanted to try. My ambition made me throw caution to the wind. Yan Qiuyu's face suddenly twisted. The officials in the hall glared at Yan Qiuyu. However, Yan Chuan just watched quietly. Ha 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 ha, in the end, I failed. You, Yan Chuan, are indeed stronger than me. Yan Qiuyu suddenly laughed bleakly. You thought you would fail? Did you think about the consequences of failure? Yan Chuan asked in a low voice. Yan Qiuyu looked at Yan Chuan. Chapter 9:25. The officials I hired for this rebellion are all ambitious. There's no need to hesitate. Kill them all. Although I use them for this rebellion, if I succeed, I definitely won't put them in important positions. Their crimes are unforgivable. Yan Qiuyu's expression was cold. I knew I would fail, so I didn't tell anyone in the Yan clan, including my children. I didn't let them know. It was all my own doing. Yan Qiuyu said again. The 100 Yan clan members looked at Yan Qiuyu with complicated expressions. Father. Yan Qiuyu's children cried and knelt down. Yan Qiuyu looked at her children with kindness in her eyes. He turned to look at Yan Chuan again and took out a letter from his bosom. It was sealed with wax. To my son, Wuxia. I have one last request, Your Majesty. Yan Qiuyu said solemnly.
Speak.
Yan Chuan said in a low voice. This is my will to my son, Yan Wuxia. When Wuxia returns, I beg Your Majesty to give it to him. Yan Qiuyu said solemnly. Yan Qiuyu's eyes moistened as she read the letter, as if it was her last hope. Lu Jin went to take the letter. Yan Qiuyu looked at Lu Jin and didn't say anything else. Instead, she said bitterly. Yan Qiuyu deserves death for seizing the throne. Your Majesty, please punish me. Yan Qiuyu bowed respectfully. Yan Qiuyu's children came forward on their knees after she finished speaking. Your Majesty, please spare my father's life. We are willing to accept the punishment on his behalf. Your Majesty, please spare my father's life for the sake of us being blood relatives. Yan Qiuyu's children cried and pleaded. Some of the Yan clan members looked at them with pity. Your Majesty, Yan Qiuyu is guilty, but Yan Qiuyu has also helped Your Majesty uncover the black sheep of Dajin. Please spare her life and banish her from Dajin. A Yan clan member pleaded. Your Majesty, after all, Yan Qiuyu. Another member of the Yan clan pitied her. At this time, Lu Gang suddenly stepped forward. Reporting to Your Majesty, Yan Qiuyu attempted to usurp the throne. Her crime is unpardonable and should be executed. Lu Gang shouted. Yan Qiuyu should be executed. A group of courtiers shouted. Your Majesty, Yan Qiuyu is still your blood relative. Another Yan clan relative pleaded. Your Majesty, you can cripple Yan Qiuyu's cultivation and expel him from Great Zhen. I beg Your Majesty to be lenient. Another Yan clan relative knelt down. Several Yan clan relatives knelt down. Lu Gang's eyes turned cold as he spoke again in a clear voice. Your Majesty, Yan Qiuyu's crimes are unpardonable and the law is merciless. She must be executed for plotting to usurp the throne. Otherwise, what is the use of Dezhen's laws? How is he going to intimidate the world in the future? Moreover, the Yen clan clansmen who supported Yen Qiyu that day are also guilty and must be punished. Your Majesty, please execute Yen Qiyu and show us the proper punishment. The courtiers shouted in unison. The leaders of the Yen clan clansmen took a deep breath. Your Majesty, regardless of the family law or national law, Yen Qiyu should be executed for his crimes. A Yen clan elder shouted. The courtiers all looked at Yen Chuan. Even Yen Qiyu was looking at Yen Chuan, waiting for Yen Chuan to make a decision. The great hall was silent. Yen Chuan remained silent. After a moment of silence, Yen Chuan said, Yen Qiyu attempted to usurp the throne. She must be executed. May your Majesty live for 10,000 years. The courtiers immediately knelt down. Your Majesty, please spare my father. Your Majesty, please spare my father for the sake of my brother, Yen Wudi. Your Majesty, I am willing to execute the punishment on behalf of my father. Please allow it. Yen Qiyu's sons and daughters immediately shouted. At that moment, Yen Qiyu did not feel sad. Instead, a trace of gratitude flashed through her eyes as she looked to Yen Chuan. My sons, there's no need to plead for mercy. You killed me well. I deserve to die. Yen Qiyu shouted.
Father!
Everyone cried. Your Majesty, please grant me the Autumn Rain Sword, Yen Qiyu said respectfully. The Autumn Rain Sword was Yen Qiyu's sword. Everyone seemed to have realized something. Allow it, Yen Chuan said. Lu Jin immediately took out a long sword and handed it to Yen Qiyu. Father! His sons and daughters cried. Yen Qiyu looked at her children with reluctance. Then, she looked at the Yen clan clansmen. A deep sense of longing flashed in her eyes. Your Majesty, please take care of the Yen clan, Yen Qiyu shouted. Then, the Autumn Rain sword slashed her own neck. Tisk. With her cultivation sealed, Yen Qiyu was no different from Immortal. She committed suicide in the Chaotian Palace. Clang! The long sword fell to the ground. Yen Qiyu also collapsed. Chapter 926. Great Chen Dynasty, Yen Capital, Skyward Palace. Yen Qiyu had committed suicide in front of the palace.
Father!
Father! Yen Qiu's sons and daughters cried as they tried to step forward, but the Yen clan's relatives quickly pulled them away. Yen Qiu had usurped the throne and rebelled. No one else had participated, but Yen Qiu's sons and daughters could no longer touch Yen Qiu. Lu Gang stepped forward again. Your Majesty, on the day of Yen Qiu's rebellion, 12 of the Yen clan's relatives were vassals. Your Majesty, please make a decision. Lu Gang said solemnly. As soon as Lu Gang spoke, the Yen clan's relatives frowned and looked over.
Plop!
In the palace, 7 Yen clan's relatives immediately knelt. Your Majesty, we were muddle-headed at that time. We did not participate in the rebellion. Yen Qiu's blade was pointed at us. We did not take a stand. Your Majesty, please be lenient. The Yen clan's relatives did not say anything else. No one could break the country's rules. This was the foundation of a country. Some of the Yen clan's relatives were knowledgeable. Naturally, they would not cause trouble at a time like this. After all, Yen Chuan and the Yen clan's relatives could see the hope of the Yen clan's rise. Who would dare to undermine Yen Chuan at a time like this? On the dragon throne, Yen Chuan's gaze swept across the Yen clan's relatives. The Yen clan's relatives who do not take a stand will be demoted to commoners. Their titles will be demoted by one and passed to their sons. Yen Chuan said. Hearing Yen Chuan's decision, the Yen clan's relatives immediately bowed. Thank you, Your Majesty. Yen Chuan's decision not only upheld the laws of Great Zhen, but also took care of the Yen clan's relatives. It was perfect. The Yen clan's relatives were extremely grateful. Yen Chuan looked at the Yen clan's relatives and said, You are all members of the Yen clan. Everyone stood respectfully. My favor to you is limited to this. I hope that you will encourage each other. If the Yen clan produces more talents, do not disappoint me. Yen Chuan said solemnly. Yes, we won't disappoint your majesties. The Yen clan clansman responded. He looked at Yen Qiyu, who was lying on the ground, and then at Yen Qiyu's sons and daughters. Yen Qiyu's body will be buried by her children. Yen Chuan issued another edict. Yen Qiyu's children looked at Yen Chuan with tears streaming down their faces. Yen Chuan was the one who had ordered Yen Qiyu's death, but Yen Qiyu had asked for it. For Dajin and the Yen clan, Yen Chuan could not be blamed. Thank you, your majesty. Yen Qiu's children cried. After the morning assembly, Yen Chuan stood in the square of the heaven-facing hall and looked at the increasing providence in the sky. Rumble. Suddenly, the amount of providence increased dramatically. The endless amount of providence rumbled and increased. Towering waves suddenly appeared in Dajin's providence cloud. The waves grew thicker and thicker. In the blink of an eye, the amount nearly doubled. Feng Yinyang stood behind Yen Chuan. He also looked up at the sky. It seems that a mid-tier sect has been destroyed. Feng Yinyang sighed. Yen Chuan nodded and felt relieved. At this moment, Yen Chuan's expression suddenly changed. It's coming. Yen Chuan smiled.
What?
Feng Yinyang was puzzled. Cover the surroundings with fog. I'm going to transcend the tribulation. Yen Chuan said. Yes. Feng Yinyang quickly activated the array near the imperial city. The fog rose to the sky. Rumble. Rolling dark clouds appeared in the blink of an eye. The 59 Heavenly Tribulation. As soon as the 59 Heavenly Tribulation appeared, the power of heaven pressed down. Countless cultivators in Yanjin were startled. Chapter 9:27. The palace was shrouded in fog. Someone in the palace is going through a tribulation? A cultivator from Yanjing said in surprise. 59 Heavenly Tribulation? Is it the emperor? Lu Gang, who was outside the palace, was surprised. Roar. Yen Chuan opened his mouth and roared. While Feng Yinyang was shaking his head and sighing, he sucked in the 59 Heavenly Tribulation. The rolling Heavenly Tribulation rushed toward Yen Chuan. As he opened his mouth, he swallowed the Heavenly Tribulation. Others had a slim chance of surviving, but Yen Chuan's tribulation was like a gift from heaven. Rumble. In less than an hour, the 59 Heavenly Tribulation was swallowed by Yen Chuan. The sky was clear again, and Yen Chuan was surrounded by lightning. Yen Chuan had broken through again. Middle Void Stage. First Tier. Dajiao's Sacred Ground, 5 major sects. Lanyu Sect, Emerald Cloud Sect, Ziyun Sect, Celestial Sect, and Fengyang Sect. Lanyu's sect was destroyed by King Gaia's endless zombies. At this moment, Emerald Cloud Sect followed in Lanyu Sect's footsteps. Endless zombies occupied all parts of Emerald Cloud Sect, and all the cultivators were bitten into zombies. Roar! Roar! One by one, the zombies roared into the sky. At the same time, Emerald Cloud Sect's virtuous cloud exploded and rolled toward Dajiao Dynasty. Zhu Jiansheng, the great swordsman, and the others looked at the scene in front of them with their mouths agape. A middle-level sect, a middle-level sect. It actually collapsed just like that? Jiansheng muttered to himself in shock. The 3 swordsmen held a small empty bottle in his hand. This small bottle of source poison is so powerful. The 3 swordsmen were shocked. Not far away, Yifeng waved the Emperor's sword in his hand. Emperor's sword, purify the weak zombies. Yifeng said in a deep voice. Buzz. The Emperor's sword flew out and scattered endless, white light. As the white light gushed out, the rolling zombies fell to the ground, leaving behind a group of zombies with high cultivation. Sir, what do we do now? Zhu Jiansheng immediately stepped forward. The Blue Cloud Sect is close to the Purple Cloud Sect. Manipulate the zombies and head towards the Purple Cloud Sect. Yifeng shouted. Yes. The group of experts immediately responded. The zombie army was marching towards the Purple Cloud Sect. Fengyang Sect. Jindayu was the first sect to be recruited. A purple-robed old man stood at the entrance of the main hall of the sect's main peak, waiting anxiously. Xiao. A white light shot over first. How is it? The purple-robed elder was the first to ask. It was a white-robed cultivator. His face was filled with panic as he said, "Senior martial brother, it's not good." At this moment, a group of experts quickly gathered around. Everyone stared at him. "Junior brother, you went to the Blue Cloud sect. How is the Blue Cloud sect now?" The purple-robed old man asked. The white-robed cultivator said bitterly, "Azure Cloud sect. When I went, it was already destroyed. The Great Jun army is currently attacking the Purple Cloud sect." "How is that possible? How long has it been? Did the Great Jun army take down the Blue Cloud sect so quickly? This doesn't make sense." The purple-robed old man said, "Zombies like the Blue Tranquil sect are zombies. The Great Jin dynasty has the ability to control zombies." The white-robed cultivator said bitterly.
Zombies?
Everyone was shocked. "Senior martial brother, let's make a decision quickly. The Blue Cloud sect is destroyed, and the Purple Cloud sect must be in danger. Senior martial brother, please make a decision," the white-robed cultivator said. The purple-robed old man's eyes were filled with uncertainty. After thinking for a while, he suddenly made up his mind. "Everyone, let's submit to the Great Jin dynasty." The purple-robed old man took a deep breath and said,
Ah.
"Senior martial brother, why? Let's wait a little longer. The other junior martial brothers' news will come soon. Let's wait a little longer." Some junior martial brothers went to the Great Zhao Holy Land. "Let's wait a little longer." "Yes, senior martial brother, let's wait a little longer. Even if the result is not good, we can just rebuild the sect." "Yes, even if we fight for the Tian Su and rebuild the sect, it's better than submitting to the Great Jin dynasty." Everyone was talking at once. "Everyone!" The purple-robed old man suddenly shouted. Everyone looked at the purple-robed old man. The East Divine Continent is about to change greatly. Even if you don't want to admit it, it's an indisputable fact. Everyone knows how big the Great Jin dynasty is this time. Rebuild the sect? Do you think it's easy to fight for the Tian Su in this chaotic world? Even the Julu Academy can't take care of itself when the time comes. If we don't seize the opportunity now, our Fengyang sect is very likely to disband. Many of our disciples will become independent cultivators and become sacrificial lambs in the chaos of the East Divine Continent. The purple-robed old man shouted. Everyone's expression changed. "Quick, if we join the Great Jin dynasty now, it'll be considered a meritorious service. Moreover, if we help the Great Jin dynasty pacify the various borders in this war, our Fengyang sect's disciples will have outstanding merits even in the Great Jin dynasty. I've studied the Great Jin dynasty and value merits greatly. Even if we join the Great Jin dynasty, we can quickly stabilize ourselves and not be at the bottom." The purple-robed old man shouted. "Quick, we must be quick," the purple-robed old man said solemnly. Everyone looked at the purple-robed old man with furrowed brows. "Senior brother, I believe in you. Senior brother is the wisest among us. Even when the sect master was still alive, Senior brother was the one who resolved the many dangers that the sect faced." "I support you," the first person said. "Senior brother, I support you too." The Fengyang sect made a decision that shocked countless sections. Submit to the Great Jin dynasty. "All right, junior brothers, we'll split into two groups. One group will inform all the disciples and quickly subdue the weaker sects around us. Let the Fengyang sect and the nearby subordinate sects all belong to the Great Jin dynasty. The other group will go to the Heavenly Star sect and help Jin Dayu reclaim the Heavenly Star sect. As for me, I'll immediately head to the Yen capital to hand over the official letter," the purple-robed old man ordered. "Yes." The upper echelons of the Fengyang sect quickly moved together.
Rumble.
The providence of the Great Jin dynasty in the Yen capital was increasing at a visible rate every day. The people of the Yen capital were unusually excited. Everyone could feel the powerful atmosphere. The Yen capital had become stronger. The Great Jin dynasty had become stronger. Feng Guang of the Fengyang sect greets the emperor. Long live the emperor. The purple-robed cultivator of the Fengyang sect had already rushed to the Yen capital. Good, Feng Guang. Feng Guang, since the Fengyang sect has surrendered to Dezhen, I will not mistreat the disciples of Dezhen. Dezhen's eastern factory has already sent a large number of factory guards to your Fengyang sect's territory. Since you have surrendered to Dezhen, they have already started recording your achievements. Yan Chuan helped Feng Guang up. Thank you, Your Majesty. Feng Guang said gratefully. Feng Guang understood that his submission had a greater meaning. He wanted to set an example for the world, so Yan Chuan wouldn't mistreat the disciples of the Fengyang sect. Only the disciples of the Fengyang sect would receive preferential treatment. When the Great Jin dynasty attacked in the future, there would be fewer people who stubbornly resisted. Chapter 928. In the Great Zhao Holy Land, one of the 5 great vassal sects, the Purple Cloud sect. The Purple Cloud sect's virtuous cloud sect had completely collapsed. Endless merit points rushed to the Great Jin dynasty. The Purple Cloud sect was completely destroyed. Yifeng controlled the god's sword to carry out the final purification of the zombies. One by one, the zombies were purified. Their souls bowed gratefully to Yifeng before entering the netherworld. Naturally, since the netherworld of the sealed world had disappeared, the zombies could only enter the netherworld of the celestial realm. A group of soldiers from the Great Jin dynasty used a secret technique to control the zombies. Zhu Jiansheng and the others stood behind Yifeng. My lord, why are you purifying them all? Since the zombies are so powerful, can't we keep them to attack cities in the future? Zhu Jiansheng asked curiously. Yifeng shook his head and said, the emperor said that this is the lowest grade of origin poison. It can only last for 3 months. In other words, after 3 months, these zombies will die at the same time. It can't be recycled at all. Otherwise, who in the world can fight against the zombies?
Oh.
Zhu Jiansheng nodded. It's going to be 3 months soon. These zombies will soon be completely dead. To be able to destroy 2 middle-level sects within 3 months, we can be considered to have accomplished our mission. Yifeng said with satisfaction. Then, what should we do next? Should we join forces with the other legions?
There's no need for that.
Let's return to the capital. The second legion has completed their mission. Let's return to the capital and wait for the Great Jin dynasty to advance to the Imperial dynasty. Yifeng said solemnly. Understood. At the same time, the god's sword purified countless zombies. The vitality that the god's sword deprived was quickly transferred to Yan Chuan's body through a mysterious connection. Yan Chuan's birth chart power was rising rapidly. Yan Chuan was certain that his birth chart power, which had just advanced to the first level of the middle void stage, would rise rapidly again. Heavenly Star Sect.
Dong. Dong.
The sound of a bell reverberated in the air. Jin Yu held the gate of heaven in his hand as he looked down at the cultivators. When the disciples of the Fengyang sect arrived to assist Jin Yu, the Heavenly Star sect's virtuous cloud had already shattered, and the virtuous cloud surged towards the Great Jin dynasty. The disciples of the Heavenly Star sect fled in all directions, while the experts were all severely injured by Jin Yu. Once the primal chaos rang out, its might was vast. Countless mountains in the surroundings were also reduced to dust. My lord, the Fengyang sect has officially submitted to the Great Jin Empire. My senior brother has already gone to the Yen capital to pay his respects to the emperor. A disciple of the Fengyang sect immediately said. Jin Yu nodded and turned to look at the Heavenly Star sect disciples. Everyone listen up. The Celestial Star sect has already collapsed, and there is no more Celestial Star sect in this world. Now, this Lord will give all of you one more chance. Join my great accomplishment, and I will ask the Emperor to allow all of you to join my third legion. Jin Yu shouted. The experts of the Heavenly Star sect felt extremely bitter. Jingming had just ascended, right? The Heavenly Star sect was destroyed in the blink of an eye. We are willing to enter the great perfection. I am willing to join. Me too. Jin Yu had subdued another group of experts. My lord, What should we do now? A disciple of the Fengyang sect asked. Rendezvous with the great Jin dynasty's first legion and uproot the last sect. Jin Dayu shouted. Understood. 5 months later. The World Margin Sect. The World Margin Sect was located in the north of the Great Jin Dynasty. It was one of the 2 major sects that the First Legion was attacking. To the north was the Great Zhao Holy Land, to the east was the sea, and to the west was the Fengyang sect. To the south was the Great Jin Dynasty, which was separated by a mid-level sect. Chapter 929. The leader of the World Margin Sect, Hong Yan. In the past, when the Great Jin Empire annihilated the Great Winged Heaven School, in order to deal with Jin Dayu, they asked the leaders of the 5 great sects for help. Although the leaders of the 5 great sects extorted a large sum of money from them, Yan Chuan didn't care. The World Margin Sect's Hong Yan was one of the 5 experts who had besieged Jin Dayu. World Margin Sect, World Margin Hall. The upper echelons of the World Margin Sect had gathered. Hong Yan's expression was extremely complicated. Among the group of World Margin Sect's experts in front of him, there were 4 Middle Emptiness Realm experts and nearly 100 Lower Emptiness Realm experts. The hall was completely silent. Hong Yan clenched his fists, his brows furrowed. Sect leader, the Great Jin Empire is too ruthless. The troops they sent this time are too terrifying. A Middle Void stage expert's expression was extremely unsightly. That's right, sect leader. The enemy sect to the south, the Eastwood sect, was defeated by the commander of the Great Jin Empire's First Legion. Huoguang? This nobody could have imagined that he would grow too quickly. He even has Yan Chuan's Jade Emperor Sword. Once the Jade Emperor Sword formation was used, countless experts died under the Jade Emperor Sword. The Eastwood sect was careless and completely collapsed. Another Middle Void stage expert took a deep breath and said, That's right. The Eastwood sect leader didn't take Huoguang seriously in the beginning. He didn't gather the experts of the various cities and didn't activate the defensive formation. In the end, more than half of the Eastwood sect's disciples were killed or injured, and even more people fled in all directions. The Eastwood sect is no more. Of course, Huoguang's First Legion also suffered heavy casualties. However, Huoguang wasn't satisfied. He actually led his army and headed towards our sect. Hong Yan's expression was extremely unsightly. He shook his head and laughed bitterly. Everyone, perhaps you still don't know. The Great Jin Empire's Second Legion destroyed the Azure Cloud sect and the Purple Cloud sect. The Third Legion destroyed the Sealing Sun sect and the Celestial Star sect. Moreover, the Third Legion is very likely to come from the west. Hong Yan laughed bitterly. What? Everyone's expression changed. These 4 were Middle Void sects. They were all destroyed. The hall was instantly filled with clamor, fear, panic, and shock. De Jun's strength was beyond everyone's understanding. The 4 middle-level sects were all middle-level sects. In such a short period of time, the entire army was wiped out. Even if Jingting ascended, the East Divine Continent still has the Dazhao, Holy Ground. Isn't the Dazhao, Holy Ground, too arrogant? Isn't the Dazhao, Holy Ground suppressing them? A cultivator said in a low voice. Hong Yan smiled bitterly and said, Everyone, do you know the flag of the great accomplishment 4th Legion that we have erected in the north? The hall suddenly fell silent. According to the information I obtained, the commander of the 4th Army is Meng Wenrua. Meng Wenrua has been in the Great Zhao for a very long time and knows a lot of things about the Great Zhao. Meng Wenrua schemed against the cities of the Great Zhao Holy Land. In addition to the convenience arranged by Mo Yushi in the past, about 1/3 of the cities in the Great Zhao Holy Land were plundered by Meng Wenrua in one go. At this moment, it should be coming to an end. No, it's even possible that the 4th Legion is heading towards our World Margin sect. Hong Yan said bitterly. There was complete silence in the hall. 1/3 of the Great Zhao Holy Land's territory? 1/3? What kind of concept was that? The East Divine Continent has changed greatly. Another Middle Void Realm expert said bitterly. Yan Chuan? Who would have thought that this Yan Chuan is actually so powerful? The Great Jun is actually so valiant. If I had known, I wouldn't have helped him destroy the Great Winged Heaven School. Hong Yen said bitterly. In the hall, the hearts of the experts were heavy. Sect Master, can we negotiate peace with the Great Jin Dynasty? A cultivator asked. Chapter 930. Hong Yen smiled and said, Our world margin sect faces the sea to the east and is surrounded by the Great Jin Empire on the other three sides. Moreover, the Great Jin Empire's army is flourishing. Do you think that they will have a meeting at this time? The hall fell silent again. Reports. A voice suddenly came from outside the hall. A cultivator quickly rushed into the hall. Sect Master, the Great Jin Empire's army has arrived. The army has arrived at the sect. The cultivator reported. Everyone in the hall immediately frowned. Quickly activate the mountain guarding array. The cultivator's Jiuhu shouted. Hong Yen led a group of experts and slowly stepped out of the World Margin Hall. Standing in the square of the World Margin Hall, one could see the Long Army in the south. The army was still on the way, but Huguang was the first to arrive. Great Jin Empire's first army commander, Huguang, greets Sect Master Hong. Huguang shouted as he stepped on a ferocious tiger.
Dong.
A bell suddenly rang from the west. Jin Deyu led the experts he had subdued from the two middle-level sects and arrived at the World Margin sect. Great Jin Empire's third army commander, Jin Deyu, greets Sect Master Hong. Sect Master Hong, I have never forgotten that I was attacked by 4 middle-level Void Realm experts and was injured. Sect Master Hong, how have you been? Jin Deyu sneered. Roar. A tiger roar suddenly came from the north of the World Margin sect. Meng Wenrua stepped on the head of a ferocious tiger, followed by a group of tiger tribe experts and some Confucian scholars. Great Jin Empire's fourth army commander, Meng Wenrua, greets Sect Master Hong. Meng Wenrua said with a smile. More and more experts gathered. The mountain guarding array around the World Margin sect was fully activated. Under the huge shield, countless experts did not feel safe at all. Many of them were even drenched in cold sweat. Sect Master, I have already notified the 100 cities under our control. A large number of cultivators will come to assist us. A World Margin sect disciple said softly. 100 cities and a large number of cultivators coming? Hong Yen smiled bitterly. Shaking his head, Hong Yen took a deep breath. Lord Hua, Lord Jin, Lord Meng, may I know why you three have come?
Hong asked.
Huguang took out an imperial edict. On the orders of the emperor, I've come to announce the recruitment of the World Margin sect. World Margin sect, Hong Yen, receive the imperial edict. Huguang shouted while holding the imperial edict. Receive the imperial edict? Once they accepted the edict, it meant that the World Margin sect was willing to submit to the Great Jin Empire. Countless disciples of the World Margin sect were enraged. However, if he didn't accept the decree, it would be an official declaration of war. Although Hong Yen was only at the middle void stage, as long as he mobilized the virtuous cloud's energy of virtue, Hong Yan's strength could rise to the upper void stage in a short time. It was just like how Yan Chuan used the golden dragon of providence. Upper void stage? Hong Yen looked at Jin Deyu with bitterness in his eyes. It would have been fine if he hadn't known about the Great Jin Dynasty's military achievements. However, he now knew that the Great Jin Dynasty had already destroyed 5 middle sections. Now, all the armies had gathered and were pressing against the World Margin sect. At this moment, could he resist? Behind Jin Deyu, there were 5 or 6 middle void stage cultivators that he knew. Jin Deyu was even at the upper void stage. Huguang's strength had also reached the middle void stage. The World Margin sect was besieged on all sides. They were at a dead end and had no strong reinforcements.
Could they resist?
Sect Master, let's fight with them. Sect Master, I'm not afraid of death. The disciples weren't afraid of the Great Jin Empire, but some of them showed fear. Hong Yan smiled bitterly. World Margin Sect, Hong Yan, is willing to lead the World Margin Sect to submit to the Great Jin Empire and receive the Emperor's edict. Hong Yan shouted. Chapter 931. Dajin Empire, Yanjing, Upper Study Room. Yan Chuan sat behind his desk, while Yifeng and Lu Gang stood in front of him. Lu Jin stood respectfully at the side. Yan Chuan held a memorial in his hand and read it carefully. Your Majesty, news from the Dezhou Holy Ground. Yao Tianshang's previous life, Zhu, killed 4 Upper Void Realm experts with a single slash. He was the strongest man 30,000 years ago. Lu Gang said. Zhu. Yan Chuan's face turned serious. The strongest man in the world. The meaning behind this title was too deep. The strongest man in the world. Jing Ming. The strongest man 10,000 years ago. Knife Demon. The strongest man 20,000 years ago. Dugus Butian. The strongest man 30,000 years ago. Zhu. The strongest man 50,000 years ago, Dongfang Bubi. Every strongest man in the world not only represented their strength, but also represented a great era. Jing Ming had just left, and Zhu had returned?
Yifeng.
Yan Chuan said solemnly. Your Majesties, you are in charge of collecting all information about Yao Tianshang and Zhu. Yan Chuan said in a low voice. Yes. Yifeng replied. Your Majesty, news from the East Faction Guard said that when Mohina Dojin was facing Kong Mok's subordinates, he merged with a Black Lotus and turned into a powerful monster. The monster had a pair of horns on its head and evil aura filled the sky. Mohina Dojin's strength was also abnormally strong. At that time, he did not use the Dezhou Holy Ground and only fought with his evil body. Both sides suffered heavy losses. Kong Mok's subordinates were all heavily injured, and 2 Upper Void Realm experts and 14 Middle Void Realm experts died. Lu Gang said. Looking at the memorial in his hand, Yan Chuan smiled faintly and said, It is written in the memorial. I saw it. Mohina Dojin was heavily injured, and Kong Mok's subordinates were also heavily injured. 2 Upper Void Realm experts even died. Kong Mok was really unlucky in the East Divine Continent. Your Majesty, Kong Mok retreated from the Dezhou Holy Land. Although he was severely injured, he should be able to recover soon. I'm worried that. Lu Gang said with a solemn expression. Yan Chuan's face darkened as he said, Don't worry about it. Not just anyone can barge into my Beijing. Yes. Lu Gang secretly exhaled.
Boom.
Right at this moment, the sea of karmic luck surged once more. Boundless luck surged and soared into the sky. Although Yan Chuan and the others did not go out, they could still feel the sudden change in luck. Congratulations, Your Majesty. The World's Edge sect has surrendered without a fight. Yifeng immediately guessed the result and congratulated. If it was obtained through battle, the providence would slowly increase. But now it had suddenly skyrocketed. This meant that the World Margin sect would be wiped out instantly. Jin Dayu and Huguang probably did not have the ability to do so. It could only be said that the World Margin sect had surrendered. Congratulations, Your Majesty. The Great Jin Dynasty's territory is already the largest in the East Divine Continent. It's even larger than the Dezhou Holy Land. Lu Gang said excitedly. Yan Chuan nodded in satisfaction and said, Lu Jin. Old slave is here. Lu Jin said respectfully. Prepare the altar. The Great Jin Dynasty is going to advance into an imperial dynasty. Yan Chuan said solemnly. Yes. Lu Jin said excitedly. At the same time, Yifeng and Lu Gang both revealed looks of joy. World's Edge Sect. Ever since the World's Edge Sect master, Hong Yan, announced his surrender to the Great Jin Dynasty, the sea of karmic luck suddenly collapsed and flowed toward the Great Jin Dynasty. Inside the World's Edge Palace, Hong Yan led 4 Middle Void Realm cultivators of the World's Edge sect to receive Huguang, Jin Diyu, and Meng Wenrua. Greetings, your majesties. Hong Yan said solemnly. Mr. Hong, you're too humble. Since you're able to take charge of a Middle Realm sect, you must have extraordinary skills and abilities. The Great Jin dynasty urgently needs talents like you, Meng Wenrua said with a smile. Chapter 932. You're too kind, Lord Meng. I'm not worthy. Hong, Yan said humbly. You're worthy, Mr. Hong. Our emperor is thirsty for talents. With Mr. Hong joining us, Dezhun will definitely prosper. Do you have any expectations? Meng Wenrua said with a smile as he waved his feather fan. Hong Yan smiled and said, I've studied Dezhun's system for some time. I hope that the three of you can let me contribute more to Dezhun, so that I won't be a lowly subject when I enter Dezhun. Meng Wenrua, Jin Diyu, and Huguang looked at each other and nodded in agreement. Huguang said, Since that's the case, you'll first gather all the disciples who are willing to join Dezhun. Then, you'll follow me to reorganize the troops. Together with me, Lord Meng, and Lord Jin, we'll consolidate the surrounding cities. Once the territory here is stabilized, you'll follow us to Yanjin to meet the emperor. Okay. Hong Yan accepted the task. Countries and sects had different attitudes towards cities. Countries operated cities to strengthen their borders. As for the sects, they operated the cities for the sake of spirit stones. Therefore, although they had conquered a large number of cities, the system of the cities had to be changed. Moreover, the garrison of each city had to be more standardized. This was also the reason why the three commanders could not return to Dezhun. Huguang was in charge of the army, Meng Wenrua was in charge of politics, and Jin Diyu was in charge of dealing with any accidents. In a mountain forest in Dezhun's territory, Kong Mok sat cross-legged. His hands were suffused with black evil qi, and his face was pale. As he channeled his energy, the evil qi in his hands was slowly being forced out. Finally, all the evil qi was forced out, and his face was much rosier. There were 80 experts sitting beside him, each of them suffusing black qi. Kong Mok stood up, and his face was extremely ugly. Not far away, the Longma was waiting quietly. Kong Mok pressed his palm on the back of an expert.
Whoosh.
Black qi suddenly emerged from the expert's body. Thank you, your majesty. Kong Mok repeated the process and helped the experts expel the evil qi in their bodies. Thank you, your majesty. Everyone bowed. Mohina Dojin? Myriad Wonder Demonic Lotus? Kong Mo Ku's face darkened. Your majesty, this trip to the East Divine Continent can be said to have suffered heavy losses. 6 Upper Void Realm cultivators died, and the Saraira Buddha's whereabouts are unknown. Also, I don't know how the primordial Tao Buddha in the Yen capital is now. An expert said bitterly. Buddha of the primordial path? Didn't you hear about it when you came here? The Great Jun Imperial Dynasty dispatched troops everywhere and already broke through quite a few sections. The origin Tao Buddha definitely didn't succeed. Kong Mok said with a gloomy expression. What should we do now? Everyone looked at Kong Mok. Since we can't control the Great Perfection, then forget it. We'll go destroy the Great Perfection now and seize its providence to make up for our losses. Kong Mok said solemnly. Yes. Everyone replied. Everyone mounted the dragon horse together. Let's go. Kong Mok shouted. The group of people rode on their dragon horses and headed south to Yanjing. Great Jin Dynasty, Yanjing. Inside the imperial city, in the sky, surging providence churned endlessly. Below, hundreds of officials stood respectfully in the square of the Heavenly Hall. On the square, there was a huge platform. Lu Jin stood on the platform, holding a horsetail whisk in her hand as she looked at the sky. It's time, Lu Jin shouted.
Clang.
The door of the Heavenly Hall opened with a bang. The officials bowed respectfully at the entrance of the Heavenly Hall. Yen Chuan, dressed in a dragon robe and a flat imperial crown, stepped out in an extremely grand manner. Chapter 933. Long live the emperors. The officials congratulated him. Under the respectful gazes of the officials, Yan Chuan walked towards the high platform step by step. Yi Feng, Feng Yinyang, Lu Gang, and the others were among the officials. Not far from the skyward hall, Bai Ditian was also watching the scene. Yan Chuan walked up the platform, which was a huge altar. He took the investiture of the gods and the great heavenly seal and placed them on the jade table on the altar. Kneel to the heavens. Lu Jin shouted. Yan Chuan waved his dragon robe and knelt on the futon. Roar! Above the Providence clouds, the golden dragon of Providence suddenly roared.
Boom.
The golden dragon of Providence swooped down and opened its mouth to bite the investiture of the gods. It grabbed the great heavenly seal with its claws. Roar! The golden dragon of Providence carried the investiture of the gods and the great heavenly seal and soared into the sky.
Bow.
Lu Jin shouted. Yan Chuan bowed to the heavens. Bow again. Yan Chuan bowed again. Bow thrice. Yan Chuan bowed thrice. Rise. Lu Jin shouted again. Yan Chuan waved his dragon robe and stood up gently. Lu Jin bowed respectfully to Yan Chuan and then slowly retreated from the huge altar. When the great Jin dynasty was established, Lu Jin had also shouted this. However, at that time, she had not only bowed to the heavens but also to the earth. However, now that the dynasty had become an imperial dynasty, she had stopped bowing to the earth. She bowed to the heavens and not the earth. Roar! A loud dragon roar came from below the heavens. As the dragon roar spread, the entire sea of Providence clouds seemed to churn violently. Roar! In the sky, the golden dragon of Providence descended again.
Boom.
The golden dragon of Providence fell into the sea of Providence clouds. For a moment, the sea of Providence seemed to shrink rapidly. Surging Providence rushed into the golden dragon of Providence. One could vaguely see that the golden dragon of Providence had taken on a corporeal form. It radiated golden light in all directions and was extremely domineering. Above the sea of Providence, the investiture of the gods and the great stabilizing heavenly seal slowly descended towards Yan Chuan. Both of them emitted a faint, colorful light. Apparently, they had been given new karmic titles by God after they had soared to the 9th heaven.
Buzz.
The two trembled slightly. Yan Chuan took a deep breath. Instead, he turned to look at the Sea of Providence. The success or failure of the Golden Dragon of Providence was the most important thing.
Boom.
The Sea of Providence shrunk by nearly half. Endless Providence poured into the Golden Dragon of Providence. An hour later, Ong. Above the Sea of Providence clouds, a dragon's roar shook the heavens. The roar shot into the 9 heavens, shaking the endless clouds in the surroundings to the point that they were instantly shattered. There was not a single cloud in sight for thousands of kilometers. The Golden Dragon of Providence appeared in front of everyone once again. The Golden Dragon seemed to have taken on a corporeal form. Its entire body exuded vigorous energy. Its body became 10,000 feet long, and its horns were much more prominent. Most importantly, its claws changed from the original 5-clawed golden dragon to the 9-clawed golden dragon. The 9-clawed golden dragon of the imperial dynasty? Yan Chuan smiled in satisfaction.
Ong.
The 9-clawed golden dragon raised its head and roared. As it roared, endless golden light shot out and instantly shot towards all the officials of the great Jin dynasty. For a moment, countless officials suddenly felt a powerful surge of providence descending upon them. The officials of Great Jin all felt a great amount of providence descending upon them. They all felt their pores open. Many of them even felt that the shackles of their cultivation had been instantly broken. Lu Gang and the other officials were all overjoyed. From today onwards, Great Jin, a country under the Imperial Dynasty, will be promoted to Imperial Dynasty China, the Great Jin Imperial Dynasty. Receiving the mandate of heaven, I shall live a long and prosperous life. Yan Chuan shouted in satisfaction. Long live the Great Jin Imperial Dynasty. May your majesty live for 10,000 years. May your majesty live for 10,000 years. Chapter 934. Great-Chin Empire, North. Inside a large hall, Meng Wenruo was dealing with some government affairs when a golden light shot into his body. Whoosh! A breeze blew around Meng Wenruo, causing the pages to flutter. Providence? Is this the Imperial Empire? Meng Wenruo sighed. Meng Wenruo stood up and stepped out of the hall. Outside the hall, a group of scholars looked at Meng Wenruo. Lord, I can feel that our providence has increased. A scholar exclaimed. Meng Wenruo nodded and smiled. My lord, did His Majesty promote the Great-Chin Empire to an imperial empire? The scholar asked excitedly. Meng Wenruo nodded, then shook his head. Remember, Great-Chin is now an imperial empire. Many rules and systems have changed. Don't call him emperor anymore, call him your majesty.
Yes.
The scholar nodded. Go and your work. Meng Wenruo said. Yes. After the scholar left, Meng Wenruo looked to the south. Imperial Empire? Imperial Empire's providence is stronger than Jilu Academy's? Jilu Academy has always been thinking of ways to increase their providence, but has never succeeded. 1 life, 2 luck, 3 feng shui, 14 virtues, and 5 studies? 5 studies? Is the purpose of studying just to be sold to the royal family? Meng Wenruo frowned. Jilu Academy had thought of many ways, but their providence had never increased. But Great-Chin Empire's providence had surpassed Jilu Academy's in a short time. Meng Wenruo even understood that there was a celestial empire above the imperial empire. Once they reached the celestial empire, their providence would increase by another level, just like the great tragedy celestial empire in southern divine continent. Great-Chin Empire, everyone rejoices. Meng Wenruo smiled. Jilu Academy. On a high platform, Dean Yu looked at Meng Lingtian. Meng Lingtian, however, looked to the northeast. His expression changed slightly. Senior, now that you have the body of an immortal, you can also step out of this world. If Jilu Academy is under your control, it will definitely prosper. Senior, please take control of Jilu Academy. Lo Yi said solemnly. Meng Lingtian shook his head.
No need.
Yu-E, do you feel it? Meng Lingtian asked solemnly.
What?
Yu-E asked doubtfully. Looks like you can't feel it. Meng Lingtian shook his head. Senior, what happened? Yu-E asked curiously. That's the Great-Chin dynasty in the northeast, right? Meng Lingtian asked in a deep voice. That's right. The Great-Chin Empire also has providence. Meng Lingtian took a deep breath and said, right now, the Great-Chin dynasty's providence is even greater than the Jilu Academy's.
What?
How is that possible? Yu-E said in surprise. I remember that Meng Wenruo is currently an official in Great-Chin? Meng Lingtian asked curiously. Yes, your great-great-grandson. His position in the Great-Chin Empire isn't light. He's the commander of the 4th Legion. Lo-E nodded.
Send someone to take a look.
Meng Lingtian said. Yes. Great-Chin Empire, Yanjing. When Great-Chin became an imperial dynasty, the officials instantly felt a boundless amount of fate descending upon them. That was the benefit of Great-Chin. With providence on their bodies, cultivation became more convenient. Some of the less talented people, such as Yifeng and Lu Gang, instantly tripled their cultivation speed. Moreover, everyone understood that as long as Great-Chin became stronger, the providence on their bodies would increase. Yan Chuan's training hall. The sword of God was placed on his knees. The hall was filled with countless spirit stones. Rumble. Under the powerful suction force, the chi of heaven and earth in the spirit stones surged into Yan Chuan's body. Chapter 935. After purifying countless zombies, the power of his birth chart skyrocketed. At this moment, a large amount of heaven and earth essence energy entered Yan Chuan's body and madly strengthened his cultivation base. First level of the middle void stage. Second level of the middle void stage. Third level of the middle void stage. Fourth level of the middle void stage. Fifth level of the middle void stage. It only stopped when it reached the fifth level of the middle void stage. God's sword? It's almost on par with the Emperor's sword in my past life. The Grand Emperor's sword accompanied my body in my past life. I wonder if my coffin is still there. Yan Chuan smiled bitterly. Yan Chuan smiled bitterly. Suddenly, Yan Chuan's eyes narrowed. Yan Chuan's expression darkened. Following that, Yan Chuan slowly closed his eyes again. At the same time, in the Great Zhun Imperial Dynasty, the nine-clawed golden dragon that was hovering above the Sea of Providence suddenly opened its eyes. Roar! The nine-clawed golden dragon of Great Zhun suddenly let out an earth-shattering roar. Countless cultivators in all directions of Yen capital looked up. They saw a powerhouse in the sky was sent flying by the nine-clawed golden dragon's tail.
Boom.
A powerhouse was sent flying. Above the Sea of Providence, the nine-clawed golden dragon's eyes narrowed. It was Yan Chuan's eyes. Yan Chuan controlled the golden dragon of Providence with his soul. The nine-clawed golden dragon looked coldly at Emperor Emoko, who was riding on a dragon horse with 80 powerhouses. Each of them was aggressive and filled with battle intent. The nine-clawed golden dragon stared at Kong Emoko. Both of them looked at each other coldly. Bai Ditian, Yifeng, Lu Gang, and the others quickly rushed out of their respective halls and arrived at the Skyward Hall Square. Kong Emoko, the nine-clawed golden dragon said coldly. Kong Emoko looked at the nine-clawed golden dragon with narrowed eyes. Nine-clawed golden dragon? Imperial Dynasty? Yan Chuan, you're really lucky. Kong Emoko said with a gloomy expression. The nine-clawed golden dragon scratched the Sea of Providence and looked down at Kong Mok. Kong Mok? Are you declaring war against the Great Zhun Empire in the name of the Great Buddha Empire? The nine-clawed golden dragon shouted coldly. Haha, it's good that you know. That Jin Dayu is still in the north, right? The only upper void realm cultivator in the Swallow capital is Bai Ditian. Let's see how you are going to stop me. I really shouldn't have been merciful to you back then. Kong Mok said with a cold light in his eyes. Be merciful to me? You really have the cheek to say that? Back then, if I didn't die, I would have exchanged my father and mother's life for theirs. They died unwillingly, and I will avenge them. Wash your neck and wait. As for now, scram.
Ong.
With a dragon roar, the nine-clawed golden dragon unleashed a vast oppressive dragon aura. The dragon's might was so strong that it forced the group of dragon horses to retreat. Humph. Kong Mok snorted coldly and blocked the dragon's might.
How dare you?
Slaughter the city and leave no one alive. Kong Mok snorted coldly. Bai Ditian's expression changed, and he was about to step out. Bai Ditian, you don't have to do anything. The nine-clawed golden dragon shouted. Huh. Bai Ditian looked at the nine-clawed golden dragon in confusion. This is the Great Zhun Empire and the Swallow capital. This is my home ground. I might not be able to kill Kong Mok, but I can protect myself. None of them can touch the Swallow capital. The nine-clawed golden dragon snorted coldly. Fo Minyang. The nine-clawed golden dragon shouted. Yes. Fo Minyang shouted.
Ong. Ong. Ong.
Ong. Under Fo Minyang's control, the endless mountains and rivers around the Swallow capital rumbled loudly. Under the loud rumbling, the power of the dragon veins rushed into the sky. Chapter 936. The power of the dragon meridian soared into the sky. It didn't enter the nine-clawed golden dragon. Instead, it turned into balls of light that surrounded the nine-clawed golden dragon like stars. The balls of light soared into the sky like stars in the sky. The stars surrounded the nine-clawed golden dragon. The nine-clawed golden dragon looked like the supreme power of the heavens. It made people flinch. However, as soon as Kong Mok gave the order, 80 powerhouses soared into the sky. 14 upper void stage cultivators and 66 middle void stage cultivators charged toward Yanjin with a ferocious aura. Among them, 5 of the upper void stage cultivators stood in the sky and slashed down with their energy sabers. Under the attack of the energy sabers, a storm rose in the void. The 5 energy sabers slashed down like 5 heavenly swords. The 9-clawed golden dragon glared and stepped forward. Stellar cycle. The 9-clawed golden dragon shouted coldly. The endless stars of dragon chi that surrounded the 9-clawed golden dragon suddenly charged toward the 5 energy sabers. Whoosh! Foam Yin-yang protected the area below Yanjin with an array formation. It was not affected by the storm raging in the sky. However, countless people could see it clearly. Thousands of stars swirled around the saber as it shot forward. In an instant, the saber of the upper void realm exploded with a loud bang. Bam! The attacks of the 5 upper void stage cultivators were all shattered. The 5 middle void stage experts at the very front also instantly charged into the heavenly cycle of stars. The endless stars of dragon chi twisted violently. The huge twisting force squeezed the 5 middle void stage cultivators. Ah! The 5 of them shouted in shock. They each took out their Dharma treasures and formed a shield to protect themselves. Bam!
Bam!
Bam! Under the strangling power of the heavenly cycle constellation, even if one used a magic treasure to protect himself, it would still explode instantly. Blood mist rose into the sky. The 5 middle void stage cultivators were killed in an instant. The 9-clawed golden dragon charged toward the upper void stage cultivator at the front. The upper void stage cultivator slashed at the 9-clawed golden dragon.
Clang!
The 9-clawed golden dragon exploded with golden light. Under the dazzling golden light, the blade only left a shallow scar on the dragon's scales. When the golden light dissipated, the golden dragon's claw grabbed the practitioner's leg.
Ah!
The upper void stage expert roared in shock. However, it was already too late. The 9-clawed golden dragon had already clawed at his upper body. Senior brother, a Xiozha in the distance exclaimed in shock. However, the 9-clawed golden dragon completely ignored them and pulled with its 2 claws. Rip! That upper void stage expert was torn in half by the 9-clawed golden dragon.
Boom!
Blood and organs flew everywhere. The experts who were sprinting all stopped in their tracks in horror. 5 middle void stage martial artists were killed by the stars, and 1 upper void stage martial artist was torn apart on the spot. They had only met once. It had only been a single exchange. Needless to say, Kong Mok and the others opened their mouths in shock. Even Bai Ditian looked at the scene with his mouth agape. This didn't make sense? The 9-clawed golden dragon had just advanced to Imperial Dynasty, and it was already so powerful. Although that upper void stage expert was only at the 2nd level, he was still at the upper void stage. He was torn in half without any resistance. How powerful was the 9-clawed golden dragon? Throwing away the torn corpse, the 9-clawed golden dragon landed on the Sea of Providence again.
Boom!
The Sea of Providence churned. The dragon aura stars continued to revolve around the 9-clawed golden dragon. The 9-clawed golden dragon looked at Kong Mok from afar. Kong Mok, do you want to come again? The 9-clawed golden dragon said coldly. In just one exchange, another upper void stage expert and 5 middle void stage experts died. Kong Mok's heart was bleeding. He had brought 22 upper void stage experts to the East Divine Continent. Were they all here to die? Yen Chuan, where are the Origin Path Buddha and the Relic Buddha? Kong Mok seemed to have realized something and asked. Dead, the 9-clawed golden dragon said in a low voice. Kong Mok's face darkened. Your Majesties? The group of upper void stage experts looked at Kong Mok. Kong Mok was in a bad mood, and the group of upper void stage experts were even more terrified. After Jing Ting ascended, the original 22 upper void stage experts could be said to be invincible. But now, they were dying one after another. This was too fast. From the Dazhao's sacred ground to here, there were only 13 left? How could this be? Yen Chuan, I will be back. I will tear you into pieces.
Kong Mok said coldly.
I will wait for you in Yanjing, the nine-clawed golden dragon said coldly. Let's go. Kong Mok shouted. Riding on their dragon horses, the group of people rode towards the west. It was not that Yan Chuan did not want to kill, but the nine-clawed golden dragon had its own restrictions and could not stop the group from leaving. Standing on the Sea of Providence, the nine-clawed golden dragon watched as Kong Mok left. Then, it sat up again and closed its eyes to cultivate. In the training room, Yan Chuan suddenly opened his eyes, got up, and walked out of the main hall. Along the way, Kong Mok and his subordinates were all silent. The atmosphere was extremely heavy. The East Divine Continent was unfavorable. The journey here was not smooth sailing. Roar. Kong Mok roared angrily. Your Majesty, are we going back now? An upper void stage expert asked. No, I want to kill. Kong Mok said through gritted teeth. Kill? Go to the Julu Academy. Even if I can't get the providence of the Dacian Empire, I want to get the providence of the Julu Academy. Humph. Kong Mok said coldly. Yes. The group of people rode on their horses to the Julu Academy to welcome the last disaster of the East Divine Continent. Chapter 937. Dazhao Holy Land, Dazhao Mountain. The original Wu Clan Hall had been changed to Dazhao Palace. Within the Dazhao Palace, Mohina Dojin's face darkened as he smashed a tea table with his palm. The 6 middle void stage cultivators and Yang Ziga's faces were extremely ugly. Father, during your battle with Kong Mok and the others, 2 of the 4 vassal sects of Dazhao were exterminated while the other 2 sects mostly surrendered to the Great Jin Empire. Yang Ziga shouted. Bastards, we should have taken back their merits long ago. Mohina Dojin said with a gloomy face. Thanks to Mo Yushi's help in the past, a large number of Great Jin's men were placed in the southeast of Dazhao Holy Land. At this moment, 350 cities of Dazhao Holy Land have fallen into the hands of Great Jin. Taking a deep breath, Mohina Dojin said coldly, Yan Chuan? I really underestimated him back then. Master, our Great Zhao's sacred land currently has 650 cities. Although the Great Jin dynasty destroyed our vassal sects, they only took the cities of the Fengyang sect. If our sect takes the cities of the other 4 vassal sects, and if we include the other middle-level sects that are fighting over them, our Great Zhao's sacred land will be able to reach 1,000 cities. A middle void realm cultivator said. 1,000 cities? Mohina Dojin took a deep breath and nodded. Father, should we kill Yan Chuan? Yang Ziga said with a gloomy face. The middle void stage cultivator immediately said, Young master, we just received news that Kong Mok brought the remaining people to Yan Chuan. 5 middle void stage cultivators and 1 upper void stage cultivator died on the spot. According to the conversation between Yan Chuan and Kong Mok, the primordial path Buddha and relic Buddha also died at the hands of Yan Chuan.
What?
Impossible, Yang Zigo exclaimed. The middle void stage cultivator shook his head to express his confirmation. Mohina Dojin's face darkened. He then shook his head and said, Forget it, the Great Zhao Holy Land's mid-level strength is empty. Let's stabilize these 1,000 cities first. Yes. Everyone nodded. Pick some lower void realm disciples who are absolutely loyal to the Great Zhao Holy Land. This sovereign will use the 10,000 Wonders Bewitching Lotus to quickly raise their cultivation and stabilize the Great Zhao Holy Land. Mohina Dojin said solemnly. Yes. Everyone immediately responded. Great Jin Empire, Yan Capital, Chaotian Palace. Huoguang, Jindayu, and Mengwen Ruwa had all returned. Ranking in the court. Yifeng stepped forward. Congratulations, Your Majesty. My Great Jin Imperial Dynasty now controls 1,100 cities in the East Divine Continent. We are number 1 in the East Divine Continent. Yifeng smiled. Congratulations, Your Majesty. The officials all bowed respectfully, expressing their excitement at this moment. 1,100? How many years has it been since Dezhun was established? Wasn't it developing too quickly? Similarly, The officials of Dezhun were also incomparably excited. The more powerful Dezhun was, the more benefits they would receive. I suggest that the Great Zhun Imperial Dynasty stop expanding its territory and focus on stabilizing the Great Zhun Empire's territory. Yifeng shouted. I concur. Meng Wenrua also shouted. I concur. The officials immediately said, approved. On the dragon throne, Yan Chuan nodded. Yifeng stepped forward. Lu Gang stepped forward. Reporting to Your Majesty, the East Factory Guard of the Julu Academy has reported. Kong Mok has brought a group of thieves to Julu Academy and is preparing to massacre the Julu Academy. They want to steal the fortune of the Julu Academy, Lu Gang said respectfully. Meng Wenrua's expression changed. Although she wasn't at the Julu Academy, she was still somewhat worried. Chapter 938. It's a pity that he was defeated at the Julu Academy again, Lu Gang reported. Oh. Yan Chuan was curious. A person called Meng Lingtian appeared at the Julu Academy this time. When Kong Mok gave the order to massacre the city, Meng Lingtian attacked and killed 2 Upper Void Realm cultivators and 10 Middle Void Realm cultivators with a single palm. In the end, they let Kong Mok go because of the Kong family. Lu Gang reported excitedly. The official sighed. Kong Mok was so unlucky. 11 Upper Void Realm cultivators had died in the East Divine Continent? How big of a blow was that? Meng Lingtian's? Meng Wenrua exclaimed. Wenrua, you know Meng Lingtian's? Yan Chuan looked at Meng Wenrua. Meng Wenrua stepped forward blankly. Yes, Meng Lingtian is my great-grandfather. Your Majesty has been to the Julu Academy and knows that Goddess Shi Chen is in the 100 Saints' Righteousness Altar. There are hundreds of immortal statues in the Julu Academy. Meng Lingtian is only one of them. I know that there is a world of light in the 100 Saints' Righteousness Altar. It seems that Meng Lingtian lives in the world of light. This place suppresses immortals. Meng Lingtian was able to attack safely. It seems that the laws of heaven and earth changed after Jingding removed the heaven seal. Yan Chuan said seriously. Immortal? The officials sucked in a breath of cold air. There were immortals in the Julu Academy? World of light? Meng Wenrua frowned. There are hundreds of immortal statues in the 100 Saints' Righteousness Altar? I didn't pay attention. Now that Meng Lingtian is one of the immortals, there should be more than one immortal in the world of light, right? Yan Chuan analyzed as he tapped his dragon throne. More than one immortal? The official's expressions turned ugly. I'm not sure. Among the 100 immortals, more than half of them have been recorded as having ascended. Some of them, such as my great-grandfather, may have ascended outside the Julu Academy. Some of them may still be living in the world of light. I'm not sure. Meng Wenrua shook his head. Since there are immortals in the Julu Academy, it's possible that there are immortals in the various sects with long histories in the world. Meng Wenrua, I want you to count all the sects and families that have existed for more than 10,000 years. Yan Chuan ordered. Yes, Your Majesty. Meng Wenrua answered. After the court meeting, some of the important officials of Great Jin did not leave. Instead, they went to the upper study room for Yan Chuan to meet them. In the upper study, Yan Chuan faced Meng Wenrua. Your Majesty, I dare not. This burden is too heavy. Meng Wenrua smiled bitterly. Is it heavy? Didn't Yifeng do very well in the past? Yan Chuan smiled. But Meng Wenrua was still worried. Immortals have appeared? Great changes have happened in this world. I must quickly prepare all the countermeasures. Meng Wenrua, in the future, there will be more than 1,000 cities in Great Jin. In the future, there will be 10,000 cities, 100,000 cities, or even more. Dealing with the current cities is the most basic. I allow you to transfer civil officials from the Julu Academy. As for how to subdue the generals, Meng Wenrua, I'll give you the title of Commander of the 4th Corps. I hope you won't bury this title. Yan Chuan said solemnly. Yes. I will definitely protect Great Jin for Your Majesty. Meng Wenrua said affirmatively. Good.
Go.
Yan Chuan nodded. Meng Wenruo left and Lu Gang entered the upper study room. After Yan Chuan gave him some instructions, Lu Gang's expression changed. Lu Gang's expression changed as he immediately understood Yan Chuan's plan. Your Majesty, please rest assured. If Meng Wenruo is in charge, my East Depot guards will definitely be hidden everywhere. There won't be any slip-ups. The East Depot will definitely monitor the world for your Majesty, Lu Gang said solemnly. Chapter 939. Yes, Lu Gang. Although your constitution isn't good, I think highly of you. This time, you will stay and set up a perfect East faction. If you can ensure that you can escape safely next time, I will bring you out. Yan Chuan said solemnly. Yes, Your Majesty. Don't worry. I won't disappoint Your Majesty. Lu Gang promised. Yes, the Empress won't be going with me this time. If you encounter anything big, you can report it to the Empress. Yan Chuan said. Yes. Lu Gang nodded. Go. Yan Chuan said. Lu Gang left, and Huguang, Yifeng, Jin Deyu, Lu Jin, and Bai Ditian entered the study together. The five of them knew something was up. Bai Ditian, your tiger demons will have to work harder this time and listen to Zizi and Meng Wenruo's orders. This is to prevent any mutiny in Dijon while we are away. Yan Chuan said carefully. Don't worry. Bai Ditian nodded. Huguang, go back and tell Tamling not to cause any trouble during this period. Yan Chuan said solemnly. Don't worry, Your Majesty. Huguang said with a hint of excitement. Looking at the five of them, Yan Chuan nodded and said, This time, we will be dreaming of Tianji. Prepare well. After I settle everything in 10 days, we will set off. Yes. The five of them replied. Yanjing, in a forbidden area in the palace. Tiger demons were guarding the area. No one was allowed to come close. In the sky above this forbidden area, a dark cloud constantly flashed with lightning. Under the dark clouds were naturally Yan Chuan and Zizi. The two of them leaned on a roof and looked at the scenery around Yanjing. I won't be able to see you for many years again. Zizi sighed. I'll just lie here. You can see me every day. I just can't say it. Yan Chuan comforted Zizi. A smile blossomed on Zizi's face as she said, I'm already very happy to be by your side. Don't worry, with me around, no one will disturb you. Kissing Zizi's forehead, Yan Chuan whispered in Zizi's ear, Actually, next time when I come back, we might be able to. Zizi was stunned at first, then her face turned red. She punched Yan Chuan twice and said, I don't want to. Yan Chuan laughed. Meow. A discordant voice jumped over. Yan Chuan, where are you going? Why aren't you taking me with you? Meow said in a displeased tone. If you go with me, who will accompany Zizi? Your mission is the most important. I have a large number of spirit stones waiting for you to eat. Yan Chuan said with a smile. A large number of spirit stones? Meow's eyes lit up. Meow, all right, for the sake of the spirit stones, I'll accompany Sister Zizi. Meow immediately smiled. Zizi smiled faintly. By the way, they're already here, Meow said. Yan Chuan looked at Zizi, and both of them stood up at the same time. They flew down from the roof. Below, Huguang, Yifeng, Jin Deyu, Lu Jin, and Bai Ditian stood together. Xianyang Palace? Yifeng looked at the palace in front of him. He saw Yan Chuan and Zizi land. Greetings, Your Majesty. Greetings, Your Majesty. Everyone shouted. Yan Chuan nodded. Zizi smiled faintly. Dream of heaven's secrets. Your Majesty, are we going to do the same as Meng Wenruo? Jin Deyu asked curiously. After all, Jin Deyu had witnessed the strangeness of Dream of Heaven's Secrets last time. Yan Chuan shook his head. No, it's different this time. The sealed world is too small. Let's soul travel together. Yan Chuan said solemnly. Soul travel? Your Majesty, our souls will enter the immortal realm? Guang said in surprise. That's right. Let's go to Xianying Palace. Yan Chuan nodded. Chapter 940. Xianying Palace. When Yan Chuan led the group into the palace, Feng Yinyang was already waiting for them. Inside the palace, there were 7 coffins in total. 1 main coffin and 6 other coffins placed side by side. The hall was filled with raging yin energy. Your Majesty, your subject's feng shui formation has simulated the heavenly tribulation acupoint. The heavenly tribulation acupoint is filled with yin energy. It is inappropriate for it to fall into the palace. Thus, your subject built this Xianying Palace with the dragon veins from all directions to guard the yin energy. Thus, this palace is named Xianying Palace. Feng Yinyang explained. Xianying Palace? Yan Chuan furrowed his brows and fell into deep thought. Your Majesty, is there something wrong with this name? Feng Yinyang asked doubtfully. Yan Chuan came back to his senses and shook his head. No, I just felt that the name sounded familiar. Perhaps I was overthinking. Xianying Palace, not bad. Yan Chuan looked at the group. In a moment, our souls will enter the immortal realm. I will remind you one by one in the immortal realm. But do you know what to do next? Your Majesty, please guide us. The group looked at Yan Chuan. After your soul enters the celestial realm, your soul won't stay in the celestial realm for long. At the same time, you don't have to worry about your future because once the time is up, or if I summon your souls, you will all return. In this limited time, you must be free from all restrictions and restrictions. Do not be bound by any rules. Yan Chuan said solemnly. Then what should we do? Guang was puzzled. Be a devil for all ages. Yan Chuan's eyes darkened. Devil? Guang's expression froze. Remember one word. Yan Chuan said solemnly. The group looked at Yan Chuan.
Kill.
Yan Chuan said with a serious expression.
Yes.
Everyone replied. Yan Chuan lay in the main coffin while Guang, Yifeng, Jindayu, Lu Jin, Bai Ditian, and Feng Yinyang lay in the other 6 coffins. He placed a black jade talisman on his forehead. Yan Chuan looked at Zizi and Miao and said, Let's go. Yes. Zizi replied with a gentle look in her eyes. Then, a huge black banner at the sides suddenly shook.
Who?
Inside the main hall, black smoke suddenly swirled around and a chilly wind blew. Guang and the others gradually fell into a deep sleep. Whoosh! The black banner swayed again. Great soul, go! Following Yan Chuan's shout, the souls of the 7 people rushed out and split into 200, which meant that there were 1,400 souls. They shot up into the sky. In the blink of an eye, they disappeared without a trace. Dream of heaven secrets. Yan Chuan led the 6 people and rushed to the immortal world. Yan Chuan and the others entered the dream of heaven secrets. The East Divine Continent was in an uproar at this moment. The world was huge, so it took a long time for news to spread to the various large sections. There were still 16 middle-level sects in the East Divine Continent. These 16 middle-level sects had all received news from the Great Jin Empire. In the main hall of a middle-level sect, there were 10 cultivators sitting in the main hall. The 10 cultivators' faces were gloomy as they looked at the blue-robed cultivator in the lead. Sect Master, this is impossible. The Great Jin Empire? Isn't this growth rate too terrifying? One of the cultivators said with an ugly expression. Sect Master, when the Great Jin Empire destroyed the Great Winged Heaven School, you went to help. Is that Yan Chuan really so powerful? Another cultivator frowned. The sect master looked bitter. Who would have thought? Who would have thought? Yan Chuan, who was in the immortal realm back then, actually destroyed 7 middle-level sects. Chapter 941. There must be something we don't know. Continue to investigate. I want information on all the officials in the Dajin Empire. Also, where has Yan Chuan been all these years? What has he been doing? The sect leader clenched his fists. Sect leader, the Dajin Empire controls 1,100 cities. It's already the number one in the East Divine Continent. If we do this, won't we anger Yan Chuan? A cultivator said with a complicated expression. The sect leader's expression also turned ugly. Anger? Secretly collect information. Yes. Also, an immortal has appeared in the Jilu Academy. Send disciples to investigate. Also, the Great Zhao Holy Ground is filled with evil energy. Send people to investigate as well. The sect leader said.
Yes.
Everyone replied. The same scene occurred in the various middle-tier sections. Jingyu ascended. After ascending, the East Divine Continent instantly became a tripartite balance of power. The Dajin Empire had the first territory. The Great Zhao Holy Ground was the only upper-tier sect. Jilu Academy had an immortal. Whether they admitted it or not, at this moment, the three major powers of the East Divine Continent were determined. As for the remaining 15 middle-tier sects, they were interspersed between the three major powers. Although they were also middle-tier sects, individually they were far inferior to the three major powers. The originally peaceful world suddenly seemed like a storm was coming. Jilu Academy. At the entrance of the radiant world, Dongfang Zhengpai's face was dejected. Heavens, old Meng, how many years has it been? Why do you still want me to cultivate Confucianism? I want to go out. Dongfang Zhengpai lamented. Humph! A cold snort came from behind Dongfang Zhengpai. Dongfang Zhengpai's face stiffened. He immediately turned his head and looked at the gloomy Meng Lingtian. Teacher, a day apart really feels like 3 years. Teacher, you don't know, but under your guidance, I feel like I've grown a lot. I'm so touched that I can't even express it in words. Teacher, please accept my sincere worship. Dongfang Zhengpai instantly revealed a fawning expression. Seeing Dongfang Zhengpai's expression, Meng Lingtian's face twitched. What kind of person is Senior Dongfang Bubi? How can he have a descendant like you? Meng Lingtian's face was filled with disappointment. Teacher, you flatter me. Student's skin is thin. Dongfang Zhengpai's skin was extremely thick. Meng Lingtian. Since you don't want to stay, that's good. I have something for you to do. Meng Lingtian said.
What is it?
Dongfang Zhengpai's eyes lit up. Find Sima Yuntian and tell him that he wants to know who his ancestor is. Tell him to come back immediately. Your mission is to bring him back to Jilu Academy. Meng Lingtian said. Looking for Sima Yuntian? Dongfang Zhengpai was extremely fat. When he saw that he could leave this cage, he was so excited that all the fat on his body started to tremble. Teacher, I'll definitely complete the mission you've given me. However, once I leave, I don't know when I'll be able to see you again. I can't bear to part with you. Dongfang Zhengpai pretended to wipe his eyes. If you can't bear to part with me, then let Meng Rongrong go. Meng Lingtian laughed. Dongfang Zhengpai's face turned solemn. Teacher, how can we do that? Meng Rongrong was a girl. How could she run around the world? How dangerous was that? Although the mission is difficult, I'll definitely complete it. Teacher, I'll leave early and return early. Whoosh. Dongfang Zhengpai immediately disappeared. Seeing that Dongfang Zhengpai was nowhere to be seen, Meng Lingtian laughed bitterly. It was hard to understand how Dongfang Bubi could have such an outstanding descendant. Meng Rongrong, on the other hand, remained calm. Rongrong. Meng Lingtian called out. Yes, great-grandfather. Meng Rongrong looked at Meng Lingtian. Your skills in the Tao of the Guqin are truly astounding. I've received permission to teach you the 8 notes of the Sky Demon. Are you willing to learn it? Meng Lingtian asked. 8 notes of the Sky Demon? Meng Rongrong frowned. The 8 notes of the Sky Demon. Even I can only learn up to the 3rd note. That's because it requires one to sever all emotions in order to reach the other shore. I can't do that. You're the most skilled person I've ever met in the Tao of the Guqin. Are you willing to learn it? Meng Lingtian said seriously. Sever all emotions? Meng Rongrong frowned. At this moment, Meng Rongrong didn't know why, but that barbaric figure suddenly appeared in her mind. Think about it. Once you've made up your mind, come and find me. Meng Lingtian said. Yes, great-grandfather. Meng Rongrong nodded. West Divine Continent. Kong Mok led more than 60 experts back on horseback. Along the way, the experts were all silent. They were feeling terrible, especially Kong Mok. When he'd first gone to the East Divine Continent, Kong Mok had been extremely ambitious. He'd even felt that it wouldn't be impossible for his team to destroy Jingming City. But the battle in the East Divine Continent had caused Kong Mok's ambitions to be thwarted again and again. Challenging Jingming? Courting death. Luckily, King Yu of the Southern Divine Continent had tested the waters for everyone. Jingming's strength had already exceeded everyone's expectations. Then, he had subdued Yao Tianshang and lured out the strongest person in the world 30,000 years ago, Ju. 4 Upper Void Realm experts had died. Mohina Dojin had killed another 2 Upper Void Realm experts. Yen Chuan had killed another 3 Upper Void Realm experts. Finally, Meng Lingtian had killed another 2 Upper Void Realm experts. No one would be able to understand the hardships of this journey. No one would be able to understand the grievances he had suffered along the way. Challenging one and kicking an iron plate. Challenging one and kicking an iron plate. Challenging one and kicking an iron plate all the way back, Kong Mok felt like dying. How could this be? Kong Mok asked himself along the way. Finally, Kong Mok arrived at the Great Buddha Empire. He had finally returned. At the entrance of the capital. Roar. Kong Mok let out a loud roar. Your Majesty is back. Your Majesty, bad news, Your Majesty. Before Kong Mok could finish venting, a group of officials ran over, their faces filled with grief and anger.
Kong Mok suddenly had a bad feeling.
What happened? Kong Mok asked in a low voice. Your Majesty, some time ago, a woman came. She called herself the Empress. One of the officials shouted. Empress? Yes, she called herself the Empress. Then, she found the habitat of the Ice Phoenix clan and slaughtered all the Ice Phoenix clan. Not one was left alive. Not one was left alive. The official said in horror.
What?
The Ice Phoenix clan that submitted to me were all slaughtered? The Ice Phoenix, he is an Upper Void Realm expert. Kong Mok exclaimed in shock. Yes, he is an Upper Void Realm expert. However, that Empress is too powerful. The Ice Phoenix could not escape at all. He was killed by the Empress with a single slash. The corpse of the Ice Phoenix is still here. Your Majesty. The official Jehu said. Another Upper Void Realm expert? Another Upper Void Realm expert died. Roar. Kong Mok roared in depression. Chapter 942. Book 6 Heroes Rise Together Chapter 1. Return after 50 years. Great Jin Empire, Yanjing. In the main hall of the Eastern Military Factory's headquarters, Lu Gang looked at a factory guard in front of him. Governor, Yan Yenyun left Yanjing alone and headed west. Although he thought he could hide from everyone, he was still seen by a Baihu. A guard reported respectfully. Yan Yenyun? Looks like Yan Qiuyu's son is still brooding over Yan Qiuyu's death and went to find Yan Wudi. Lu Gang said with a frown. Sir, should we capture him? The guard asked solemnly. Lu Gang frowned and pondered for a while. Not for the time being. We'll talk about it after I report to the Empress. Lu Gang shook his head. At the same time, Meng Wenrua also received the news. My lord, this Yan Yenyun clearly went to find Yan Wudi for revenge. Should we capture her? An official respectfully asked Meng Wenrua. Meng Wenrua frowned and pondered deeply. In the end, she took a deep breath and shook her head. No, let him go.
Ah,
let him go? The official asked in surprise. First of all, you have no way to prove that he is definitely looking for Yan Wudi for revenge, so there is no reason to arrest him. Secondly, even if it is true, it is not our place to intervene. This is an internal matter of His Majesty's clan. Meng Wenrua said in a deep voice. Yes. The official could only helplessly reply. At the same time, several members of the Yen clan who were highly respected also arrived at the imperial palace to see Zizi. Empress, we've already restrained them, but we didn't expect Yan to be so bold. It's better to capture him as soon as possible, an elder of the Yen clan said worriedly. Zizi shook her head and said, Everyone, there's no need to be nervous. His Majesty has already considered all of this. Let him go. Everyone was at a loss. 45 years later. Central Divine Continent. The Duga family.
Sword mound.
Yan Wudi held the heaven-mending sword in his hand as he battled the 9 experts. Countless Dugu family members were quietly watching from all directions.
Shing, shing, shing.
As soon as the heaven-mending sword appeared, huge sword lotuses bloomed in all directions. As soon as the sword lotuses appeared, endless sword light shot towards the 9 experts to surround them. The swordsmanship of the 9 great experts was also extremely tyrannical. Complex swordsmanship was even more at the fingertips of these 9 people. The 9 experts' swordsmanship was excellent, but it was a pity that Yan Wudi's swordsmanship was stronger. Standing in the middle of the sword lotus, he was like a sharp sword that shot into the sky, causing others to cower in fear.
Boom.
The sword lotus exploded, and more than 3,000 sword lights sent the 9 experts flying.
Shing.
There was a long sword at each expert's throat. The long sword didn't move any closer. It merely stopped at the throats of the 9 experts, emitting a series of sword cries. He exhaled softly. Yan Wudi smiled faintly.
Boom.
The sword chi exploded, and the divine sword fell into the sword tomb. The 9 experts had all been defeated. The 9 experts looked at each other. Solitary sword pays respect to the patriarch. The Dugu 2 swords greets the patriarch. Solitary 9 swords greets the patriarch. The 9 experts bowed respectfully. At the same time, the Dugu family members all around also bowed respectfully. Greetings to the patriarch. Standing high in the sky, Yan Wudi's face revealed a trace of excitement. Uncle Chuan, I succeeded. I finally got everyone's recognition. Yan Wudi said to himself excitedly. Just as Yan Wudi was excited, a man who looked like a beggar had arrived outside the Duga family.
He was in a sorry state.
Chapter 943. The man's hair was disheveled, and his face was covered in blood and mud. His clothes were tattered, and he looked extremely miserable. Dugu family? The man looked at the stone tablet, and his eyes were filled with tears. Who are you? Suddenly, there was a loud shout, and 2 disciples of the Dugu family stood in front of the beggar. I want to see Yan Wudi. I want to see Yan Wudi. He is my brother. After the beggar finished speaking, he fainted. Yan Wudi? Brother? Quickly report to the family head. One of the disciples said immediately. Yes. One of the disciples quickly rushed into the house while the other transferred a stream of true energy to the beggar. When the beggar woke up again, he was lying in an extremely spacious hall. The beggar opened his eyes and looked around. Suddenly, he saw Yan Wudi standing at the side. Brothers. The beggar immediately cried. Yan, why are you here? What happened to your injuries? Yan Wudi frowned. Brother, father is dead. Father was forced to death by Yan Chuan. You have to avenge father. The beggar cried.
What?
Yan Wudi's face changed. Father was forced to death by Yan Chuan. Impossible. Yan Wudi exclaimed. It's true, brother. The beggar grieved. Yan Wudi's face was extremely ugly. How is it possible? Uncle Chuan forced father to death. How is it possible? Yan, tell me clearly what's going on.
Tell me clearly.
Yan Wudi said impatiently. Yan sorted out her thoughts and told Yan Wudi everything from beginning to end. Yan Wudi clenched his fists tightly, and his face turned pale. Brother. Yan cried. Yan, you recuperate first. 10 days later, I will return to Yanjing with you. Yan Wudi's face was extremely gloomy.
Yes.
Yan nodded. It was the 50th year since Yan Chuan brought his officials into the heavenly secret realm. Below a city, Yan Chuan led the 6 of them to look ahead. It was an incomparably majestic city. Its size was even larger and more majestic than the number 1 city in the sealed realm, the Great Zhou City. Unfortunately, all that was left of this city were dilapidated walls and dilapidated walls. He could vaguely see a broken stele erected not far away. On the stele were the words Qin capital. Qindu? Is this the capital of your previous life? Bai Ditian asked curiously. Everyone looked at it carefully. Previous life? Yan Chuan's previous life? After following Yan Chuan for so many years, they vaguely knew some things about Yan Chuan. Dezhan in the previous life? Was this the capital of Dezhan in his previous life? The capital of Qin?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, after I died, this place was reduced to a pile of ruins, and it was even burned by demonic flames. The energy of the world is extremely chaotic. Yan Chuan sighed lightly. As he spoke, Yan Chuan took a step forward and flew into the sky. Everywhere he passed, he looked down at his surroundings. The 6 of them followed closely behind. There was not a single person in the vast city. Everything looked bleak. Gradually, the 7 of them flew into a dilapidated hall. Yan Chuan looked at the deformed corner and smiled bitterly. This was the place where his previous life's wife, Zhen Rou, died. Zhen Xiong? Yan Chuan's eyes were cold. The 6 of them did not dare to interrupt. They quietly waited for Yan Chuan. Only when Yan Chuan calmed down did Yan Chuan take a step forward and fly out of the Qin capital to another place. It was in the mountains. The mountains were shrouded in fog, making it difficult to see what was inside. After flying for a while, Yan Chuan and the others landed on the peak of a mountain. Chapter 944. In front of them was a desert surrounded by mountains. However, the desert here was made of black sand. Yan Chuan narrowed his eyes. After all, this was the place where Yan Chuan's body from his past life was buried. It was not like this back then. How did it end up like this? 7 souls? 7 ghost cultivators? Haha. How dare ghost cultivators wander around the mortal realm? It just so happens that I'm in need of a few ghost puppets. I was worried that I couldn't find any high-level ghost cultivators. So, you've delivered yourselves to me? A voice suddenly rang out. Following that, a huge black screen shot into the sky from a nearby forest. A domineering aura pressed down on them. A cultivator who was 100 feet tall could be seen in the black screen. However, this cultivator was extremely ugly. His face was covered in pustules. At this moment, he was charging toward them arrogantly. Yan Chuan did not move. Huguang suddenly took a step forward. Huguang flipped his hand, and a blood-red spear appeared in his palm. The spear was brimming with a murderous aura. You have a death wish.
Boom.
He thrust the spear forward, and a violent storm swept up in the surroundings. The storm was blood-red as though it contained an endless amount of murderous aura.
Ah.
How can this be? The 100 feet tall heretic exclaimed. A skull appeared in his palm to block the attack.
Boom.
The skull exploded, and the spear pierced the heretic's chest. How can this be? The heretic cried out in shock. However, at this moment, the energy spear retracted and slashed down.
Boom.
The heretic crashed into the ground. A huge crater was formed in the ground. The 7 of them looked down at the heretic. The heretic, on the other hand, was completely dumbfounded. Is this a ghost cultivator? His chest was shattered, and he was severely injured. The ghost cultivator could not fight back at all. The heretic knew that he had hit a wall this time. He wanted to cry, but no tears came out. Seniors, I've offended you earlier. Please forgive me. The heretic said sorrowfully. I remember that there were 100 huge mountains here. How did it become a black desert? Yan Chuan asked in a low voice.
Ah?
That was a long time ago.
Senior, you don't know?
The evil cultivator was at a loss.
Speak.
Yan Chuan said in a deep voice. Yes, senior. There used to be nothing here, but one day, a swordsman came and split a mountain peak with a swing of his sword. At that time, a feng shui master appeared and tried to stop him, but the swordsman was too strong. He couldn't stop him at all. In the end, the feng shui master sacrificed his life to open the door to the netherworld. Unexpectedly, there was a huge spring below. The spring swallowed everything around it, and then the door to the netherworld closed, leaving behind a land of black sand. The heretic explained. Su Fu? Zhenrou's master. So he has always been guarding my tomb. Yan Chuan muttered to himself. Do you still remember who that sword cultivator is? Yan Chuan asked coldly. Oh, I remember that the feng shui master scolded him. His name is Zhen Xiong. Yes, Zhen Xiong. The evil practitioner recalled. Ha 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 ha. Yan Chuan laughed out loud. His voice was filled with coldness. Zhen Xiong isn't even willing to let go of my corpse? Let's go. Yan Chuan shouted coldly. He turned around and led everyone away. The heretic was at a loss when he saw everyone leave just like that. We can't stay here any longer. It's too terrifying. We have to leave immediately. The heretic struggled into the forest. Yan Chuan and the others continued flying. Yan Chuan's face was gloomy, and everyone else was silent. The atmosphere was extremely tense. Where are we going now, Your Majesties? Lu Jin asked. We're going back first. I heard Zizi calling for me. It seems that Yan Jing has reappeared. Zhen Xiong, I will be back. When I return, it will be the day of your death. Yan Chuan said coldly. Yes, Your Majesty. Everyone replied. Let's go back. Yan Chuan waved his hand, and everyone immediately disappeared. Chapter 945. Great Jin Dynasty, Yanjing. Skyward Hall Square. On one side of the plaza, Yan Wudi returned with a strong momentum. Behind him were 20 disciples of the Dugu family. Each of them held a sword as they coldly looked at the skyward hall before them. Yan Wudi was the leader, and his eyes were filled with endless hostility. Yan Yenyun, on the other hand, was excited. Yan Wudi, the head of the Dugu family, the invincible Dugu. Along the way, Yan Yenyun had already understood how powerful her brother was. There was no need for Yan Wudi to make a move. A Dugu clan disciple behind him could kill the great fiends blocking his path with one sword strike. Yan Wudi looked at the skyward hall with a gloomy expression. At this moment, the officials of the Great Jin Dynasty were standing in the square of the skyward hall. Meng Wenrua and Lu Gang frowned as they watched, along with a group of Yan clan relatives. An old man from the Yan clan said, Yan Wudi, you cannot blame His Majesty for your father's death. That's right. If His Majesty wanted your father to die on purpose, why would he wait until he rebelled? Also, His Majesty didn't make things difficult for your younger brother and sister. He only stripped them of their titles and gave them to their descendants. His Majesty has already done his best. Another Yan clan elder said, Yan Wudi, be rational. It was your father who rebelled first. Your father rebelled. Rebelling is a capital offense. Your father brought this upon himself. Yan Wudi, let go of your prejudices. The Yan clan relatives kept trying to persuade him. However, Yan Wudi's eyes were red. He shook his head gently and said, But he is still my father. Brother. The group of Yan Wudi's younger brothers and sisters didn't know what to do. Their eyes were all red. He wanted to take revenge for Yan Qiyu, but Yan Qiyu had only herself to blame. It was indeed Yan Qiyu's fault. Although Yan Qiyu was his father, it was an indisputable fact. However, they couldn't just ignore it and pretend that nothing had happened. After all, that was their father. "Tell Yan Chuan to come out and see me," Yan Wudi roared. As he roared, a storm of sword chi suddenly burst out in all directions of Yan Jin. At this moment, Yan Wudi also felt extremely uncomfortable in his heart. On one side was Uncle Chuan, whom he admired the most, and on the other side was his biological father. Although it was his father's fault, he was still his father.
Why?
What Yan Wudi had said before was different from the truth. At this point, Yan Wudi had also figured it out. However, even if he understood it, so what? In the end, Yan Chuan killed Yan Qiyu. The Yan clan relatives at the side were also anxious. The Yan clan relatives were extremely happy that a powerful person like Yan Chuan had appeared in the Yan clan. Now that another powerful person had appeared, the Yan clan relatives were naturally excited. However, these two powerful people were now standing on opposite sides. This would be a great disaster for the entire Yan clan bloodline. There was no way to persuade him. Yan Wudi didn't listen at all. After all, that was his father. Everyone was anxious. At this moment, in the Xianying Palace, Zizi gently called out to Yan Chuan, "The dream of heavenly secrets." Everyone else was only left with their bodies. However, the master of this technique, Yan Chuan, left a trace of consciousness that could connect to the soul outside.
Whoosh.
Suddenly, a gust of Yin wind blew in the main hall. In an instant, endless Yin qi spewed out. Rumble. The entire Xianying Palace trembled violently as a powerful aura spread out. Huff, huff, huff. Chapter 946. One by one, the souls rushed into Yan Chuan's body. Yan Chuan's soul was the first to return. In the blink of an eye, 200 souls entered his body.
Buzz.
Yan Chuan opened his eyes. "He's awake."
Meow.
Meow said excitedly. Zizi also revealed a happy smile. When Yan Chuan opened his eyes, he was slightly stunned. It was as though he was sorting out everything in his mind. 200 souls. That was 200 lives. At this moment, the 200 memories quickly merged and became a part of Yan Chuan.
Phew.
Yan Chuan exhaled softly. He slowly regained his senses and gently removed the black jade talisman. He was the first to walk out of the coffin and looked at the 6 people who were still sleeping. He grabbed the soul summoning banner. "Soul, return." With a soft shout, a chilly wind blew in the hall again. More than 1,000 souls quickly returned to Yan Chuan and entered his body. The other 6 people also opened their eyes in the blink of an eye. Huguang, Lu Jin, Yifeng, Jin Deyu, Feng Yinyang, and Bai Ditian. Almost all of them were stunned as they integrated the 200 memories that did not belong to any order. After a while, the 6 of them finally regained their senses. After taking a deep breath, everyone looked at Yan Chuan at the same time. "Thank you, Your Majesty," everyone shouted. "We've been in the heavenly secret realm for 50 years and 200 souls. It's equivalent to 10,000 years in the heavenly secret realm. Although it's not continuous, the increase in the power of our birth charts is still counted in 10,000 years. Moreover, the 200 lives are also precious treasures. Merge them well and transform them into strength as soon as possible, especially Huguang, Lu Jin, and Yifeng. Strive to break through to the void realm," Yan Chuan said solemnly. "Don't worry, Your Majesty. I'm confident," Huguang, Yifeng, and Lu Jin said with a smile. 10,000 years? At that moment, Feng Yinyang, Bai Ditian, and Jin Deyu were filled with emotions. Cultivation? Compared to this, the various cultivation methods in the past were simply too weak. Feng Yinyang felt that as long as he could fully assimilate this experience, he would not be weaker than his master, Li Kenglin. In fact, Feng Yinyang felt as if he could connect with the stars. Bai Ditian also felt that his strength had increased. Even in the upper void realm, Bai Ditian was an extremely powerful existence. Jin Dayu sucked in a deep breath. In the past, he had been in seclusion in the Great Winged Heaven School, which was nothing compared to this. Was this the power of 10,000 years of birth chart? On the other side, Yan Chuan looked at Zizi. Meow. 10,000 years? Was it really that exaggerated?
Meow?
I want to go too. Next time I want to go too. Meow cried out pitifully as she grabbed onto Yan Chuan's sleeve with her little paws. All right. Yan Chuan nodded affirmatively. Meow. Meow was finally satisfied. What happened? Yan Chuan asked. Yan Wudi is here. He's at the entrance of the Skyward Hall. Zizi said with a frown. He's here? What's supposed to be here has finally come. Yan Chuan took a deep breath and nodded. At the entrance of the Skyward Hall, Yan Wudi's eyes were bloodshot as he held his sword. Wudi, His Majesty, is not in Yanjing. It's been 50 years. Ask around, everyone knows about it. You should go and burn incense at your father's grave first. A relative of the Yan clan persuaded. There's no need. If I can't see Yan Chuan, I won't have the face to see my father. Yan Wudi shook his head firmly. But the relative of the Yan clan said with a complicated expression. His Majesty has arrived. In the distance, Lu Jin's voice suddenly sounded. Lu Jin's voice caused the officials to turn their heads in surprise. Chapter 947. Only a few officials in Xianying Palace knew about Yan Chuan's dream of entering the heavenly secrets. The others thought that Yan Chuan had left the palace. Now that Yan Chuan suddenly appeared, everyone was at a loss. Yan Chuan, Jin Dayu, Yifeng, Zizi, and the others walked over. For a moment, there were no more doubts. Greetings, Your Majesty. Long live Your Majesty. The officials bowed. Yan Chuan also walked to the entrance of the Skyward Palace under everyone's gaze. Lu Gang and Meng Wenruo looked at everyone curiously. They wanted to see what was different. Yan Chuan walked in front, and everyone followed behind him. Step by step, he walked up to Yan Wudi. Brother, it's him. It's Yan Chuan who forced father to death. Yan shouted. Shut up. Yan Wudi shouted. Yan looked at Yan Wudi in surprise, and she forgot to speak. Seeing Yan Chuan, Yan Wudi's eyes flashed with a complicated hatred, and the heaven-mending sword in his hand trembled. Wudi, you're back. Yan Chuan said with a smile. Xing. He waved the heaven-mending sword, and the tip of the sword pointed at Yan Chuan. How dare you? Huo Guang, Lu Jin, Jin Dayu, and the others shouted in unison. Yan Chuan waved his hand lightly, stopping everyone's shouting. Wudi, you can't point your sword at His Majesty. A Yan clan relative shouted anxiously. Since Great Jun was established, there were rules and etiquette. Pointing a sword at His Majesty was tantamount to treason, and there was no turning back. This was not a question of forgiveness, but the system of the country. The emperor was honorable and could not tolerate the slightest insult. Even if His Majesty forgave you, the civil officials' impeachment memorials could drown you. Seeing Yan Wudi raise his sword, the hearts of all the Yan clan members rose. They were worried for Yan Wudi. Yan Chuan smiled faintly and said, Back then, in the Feng Shui formation of the Myriad Wonders demonic lotus, I once promised you that I would allow you to challenge me once. It seems like it's going to come true today. As soon as Yan Chuan opened his mouth, all the Yan clan members were overjoyed. With His Majesty's promise, they didn't have to worry about being impeached by the civil officials. You forced my father to his death. Yan Wudi's eyes flashed with pain. So, you want revenge? Yan Chuan smiled faintly. Yes, I want revenge. Yan Wudi's eyes turned red again. Yan Wudi understood that this matter could not be blamed on Yan Chuan, but as a son, he had no choice but to seek justice from Yan Chuan for this groundless cause and effect. Although he didn't want to raise his sword against Yan Chuan, he had no choice but to do so. Then come. Let me see how much you've learned over the years. Yan Chuan nodded in satisfaction. Yan Chuan agreed to Yan Wudi's life and death battle. Your Majesty's body is priceless. You can't risk your life. Your Majesty, please reconsider. Immediately, the officials cried out. However, Yan Chuan waved his hand and stopped the ministers from advising. Let's go. Yan Chuan stepped into the sky. He flew high into the sky. The Emperor's sword was left behind. Yan Chuan only held the Jade Emperor's sword in his hand.
Buzz.
The Jade Emperor's sword vibrated. Yan Chuan was ready for battle.
Master?
The Duga family members cried out. They were slightly worried. Everyone stay here. This is between me and Yan Chuan. Yan Wudi said in a low voice. Yes. The Duga family members answered.
Whoosh.
Yan Wudi also flew high into the sky. Standing in the sky, the two of them looked at each other. Yan Wudi took a deep breath. In his mind, he abandoned the worship for Yan Chuan and only remembered the hatred for Yan Chuan. The heavenly veined sword in his hand trembled slightly, and an unstoppable aura gushed out. On the other side, Yan Chuan held the Jade Emperor's sword in his hand. He was not arrogant, and was also waiting with rapt attention. Because Yan Chuan knew how terrifying Yan Wudi's legacy was. The uncle and nephew were about to fight. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.